Hello folks, and listen, I don't typically like to do this, but most channels already do, so I figure I might as well start. If you enjoy the content that we deliver here at Speed Station and you want to try helping out, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment if you want. All of this helps our channel grow tremendously, especially with the metrics. And I can't put to words how grateful I am for the support that we already receive. It's kept us going this long, and it will keep us going well into the future. And if you're really feeling generous, we have an active Patreon and PayPal donation page up if you would like to give this channel a monetary boost, which would be tremendously appreciated, and continue to further our efforts into the future. One more thing. If you think that I'm just sitting around during the time in between the videos here on Speed Station, you couldn't be more wrong. Join the Discord. All these links, by the way, are in the description. Check out behind-the-scenes activity and get a better idea of what I'm working on during day-to-day operations on our Discord server. Get to talk directly with me as well, because I'm always active on that thing. That's how I spend my time in between. So, just to reiterate, we tremendously appreciate the amount of support that we've gotten already. And we'd like to see this channel continue to grow and be able to deliver even better content into the future. Anyways, let's get into the actual video here, since I've wasted enough of your time already.
It's the most powerful show on television. High drama, with intense energy. A show dedicated to a few brave souls who risk their lives for the sake of their craft. Its in-depth reporting goes to the core and unlocks the mysteries behind today's raciest sport. Motorsports. Catch it when you can.
Welcome back to Post Tech. Today we move on to episode number 24, coming off a very eventful first round of the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series playoffs in the races held at Darlington, Rockingham, and Bristol, which saw David Ragan, Timothy Peters, and Matt Crafton all head to victory lane, respectively. And given the fact that it was a round of the playoffs, we had 4 drivers' chances at a championship come to an end in the elimination following the UNOH 200 from Bristol. Today we once again have 3 races to cover, now in the round of 16, beginning the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs, so I'm going to be covering the news stories of the week a little bit quickly, as I have over the last couple of weeks. First, some more recap of the round of 16 races in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series and some silly season stuff along with it. Ford is absolutely back to top-tier performance after the debut of the new front fascia regulations, allowing the F-150s some more leeway in front downforce, since they were lacking a little bit of that front downforce compared to what the Silverados and the Tundras have had through the regular season, the first 26 races of the Camping World Truck Series season. David Ragan took LGR's first victory of the season in the 17 truck at Darlington Raceway. Timothy Peters continued Ford's success at Rockingham, cashing in on some more Triple Truck Challenge money. And finally, Todd Gilliland almost won at Bristol Motor Speedway. So it was a very, very successful round for Ford Performance as a whole. And speaking of Todd Gilliland, he's almost won 4 of the last 5 races. Barely lost to Grant Enfinger at Daytona Beach. Had one of the fastest trucks at Darlington, but brake fade took him out of contention. Another fast truck at Rockingham Speedway, but had a flat tire early and dropped a lap down, taking the entire race to get that lap back, and finally finishing in 8th position. And came excruciatingly close to the victory at Bristol, but made a few mistakes in lap traffic, which allowed Matt Crafton to sneak by and take home his 3rd win of the season, advancing himself automatically to the round of 12. At this rate, Todd Gilliland is at least a top 8 contender for next season, definitely becoming one of our most improved drivers of the year. Expect a lot out of that number 38 team in 2022 if they can keep this up. Veterans, though, were the big story in the round of 16, making a very, very big statement with Ragan, Peters, and Crafton taking the victories. Average age among those 3 is 40 years old. That is a higher average age out of 3 consecutive winners than we've had in the Cup Series for quite a while. So looks like the Truck Series for right now is being taken over by the veterans. Maybe it's just the nature of the first round being some of the most difficult racetracks such as Darlington and Rockingham, and Bristol takes some experience too. Maybe we'll see the age go back towards the younger drivers in the second round of the playoffs, but still veterans dominated the first round. We also had some surprising results of the point standings following Bristol. Mainly, Christian Eckes being eliminated in the first round after scoring 2 victories in the regular season at both Auto Club Speedway and Lucas Oil Raceway in Indianapolis. He might not have been a championship 4 favorite, especially going off the fact that the ThorSport trucks appear to be almost guarantees for 3 of those 4 spots, but still it was a first-round collapse for the team. And I talked a lot about success at Bristol, mainly meaning avoiding carnage. An awful lot about that I had spoken about at Bristol in the pre-race segment and during the race. And guess what? The team got wrapped up in an accident between Timothy Peters and Stephen Parsons, which ultimately ended Christian Eckes' championship hopes. And it was a crash that had absolutely nothing to do with him, but couldn't avoid it in time, and unfortunately, it ended their chance at a title. However, that team can spend the next 7 races prepping for the 2022 campaign. That's the real benefit, I guess you could say, of being eliminated. It gives you kind of a leg up on your competition for next season. Unfortunately, defending ARCA Menard Series titleist Brett Holmes, his championship run came to an end as well. They barely made it into the playoffs with some good late regular season finishes. Barely scored, that second place finish at Myrtle Beach. Almost won that race, could have won their way in, but still that second place was enough to point their way in. But they didn't have the speed to compete overall. They just were not front runners week in, week out. They did not score a race victory this season. Main focus for them in these final 7 races after they've been eliminated is to score a victory to close out this year. And then there's Ryan Truex, another driver who was eliminated from championship contention after Bristol. He suffered from major inconsistency all season long, and in the end, that's what actually cost him a chance at making it past that first round, the round of 16. He has only 6 top 10s on the season, which is actually the least of any of the top 16 competitors chasing after that championship. Finally, Dawson Cram, his Cinderella season has come to an end, at least when it comes to the championship run. Definitely the biggest upset of the season was that whole organization winning at Michigan and racing consistently enough to make the top 16, even if they would not have scored the victory at Michigan. That just sealed the deal. But Dawson Cram had the least laps led of any competitor in the top 16. Only 19 laps led on the season. Even with his victory at Michigan coming into this playoffs, that team was just not capable of making it past the round of 16. Even though they wound up in some bad luck, they still did not have the performance to try and chase after a championship anyway. But on the other hand, we had Ty Gibbs. He completely saved his season at Bristol Motor Speedway, securing a relatively decent top 10 finish and a round of 12 advancement along with it. Took advantage of mistakes such as Christian Eckes getting involved in that crash. That allowed Ty Gibbs to make the next round with Ty's top 10 finish. KBM has not shown much speed this season overall. John Hunter Nemechek's 21st in points. He missed the playoffs. Chandler Smith is 23rd, also missed it. Ty Gibbs won at Talladega. No offense to Gibbs, but essentially anybody can win at Talladega Superspeedway. And outside of that, Greg Biffles ran decently in the 51 truck. Kyle Busch won with it. Of course, Kyle would. But that team has just not performed really capable of an organization that I would say is a favorite to win the championship. So comparably to his teammates, Gibbs has been very strong this year, scoring a win, making the playoffs. But making the round of 8 is going to be a real challenge for that number 18 team. I really don't think that they have the speed, at least at the moment, to make the round of 8. I think that the round of 12 is probably where that team is going to meet its end when it comes to a championship run. Unless Ty Gibbs could, say, pull off a victory. The round is primarily short tracks. He's got a lot of experience at that type of discipline. There's a road course in there. Ty's pretty good on them. Could potentially win his way in, but I don't exactly see it as being too likely. Now, with the round of 12 set in the Camping World Truck Series, the biggest upset is easily Parker Kligerman, making it this far with Henderson Motorsports, just outside of Bristol, Tennessee is where they run their operation. Long-time team. They've done it so far without scoring a victory on the season, just doing it on sheer consistency. Very impressive run so far for that 75 team. We'll see how long they can keep this up. Sheldon Creed was pretty much off the radar also in the round of 16 races, which is unexpected for Creed going off of his performance this season, battling for that regular season championship most of the year with Matt Crafton and the rest of the ThorSport trucks. But so far, Timothy Peters has taken over Sheldon Creed's spot as a Championship 4 favorite, likely helped by the new Ford F-150. As you recall, he was the best Ford truck anyway before they had a downforce benefit with NASCAR's new regulations. Now they could be a legitimate championship contender at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Outside Timothy Peters, I'd say probably the other three are the three teammates at ThorSport Racing of Matt Crafton, Grant Enfinger, and Ben Rhodes. We all questioned ThorSport's move back to Toyota to begin the season, but it has paid off in every single way this year, and I don't think we're going to be questioning it again because it seemed risky to try and switch all your inventory over to Toyota trucks starting in January, but it's certainly paid off being the top three trucks in points almost week in and week out. The scariest moment of the round of 16 was easily Sam Mayer's huge tumble and impact at Rockingham Speedway when he was accidentally turned into the outside wall and impacted hard by Chase Purdy through turns 3 and 4. The impact was not bad enough for Mayer to sustain severe injuries, however. It did aggravate a hairline wrist fracture that he suffered in a Trans Am crash last season. NASCAR is monitoring that situation on a week-by-week basis. They allowed him to race at Bristol, and the next 4 races on the schedule are either short tracks or road courses. So it is likely that that injury will be healed before we head to Homestead Miami Speedway, which is our next big Speedway race. Now on to some big silly season news. Bill McAnally Racing, which we all know is fielded as of recent, Toyotas primarily with driver Derek Kraus in the Camping World Truck Series, Napa Auto Parts number 19 truck. They will be switching manufacturers next season, going from Toyota Racing Development back to Chevrolet, where the team got its start, what was then the Winston West Series. They've been struggling all season long in the Camping World Truck Series and have a deal with GMS Racing next year to provide chassis. And it's going to be a wholesale partnership between GMS Racing and Bill McAnally, some of the best competitors from the ARCA ranks currently working together to field 2 competitive Truck Series programs. Now, we already know that GMS has built up quite an empire in the Truck Series, but McAnally has not quite adapted as well to the truck rank as GMS Racing already has. So this partnership should be ultimately beneficial for both, and especially beneficial for that driver's edge development program that Chevrolet has, because they're gaining all the inventory that Bill McAnally Racing has and all the influence they have on the Western racing market. A lot of new drivers for GM's development programs. So they have not yet announced their drivers for next season, running Chevrolets in the Truck Series, but they intend on trying to run 2 trucks on a full-time basis next season, most likely being the number 19 and number 50 trucks. McAnally Racing has been one of the most dominant forces in the West Series over the last decade, essentially the Venturini Motorsports of the West, that being the most dominant Toyota program. But now they're switching to Chevrolet, joining ranks with GMS Racing. That's going to be a powerhouse, especially, by the way, as if they weren't already, but especially now in the East and West Series and even in the ARCA National Series because of how well GMS Racing runs and how much experience McAnally Racing has. Those two working together, it's going to be a tough combination to beat in the ARCA ranks. But speaking of Venturini Motorsports, they have struggled to find success exceptionally this season in NASCAR's Camping World Truck Series. While Bill McAnally Racing has found the move that at least they believe they needed to make to find success in the series, Venturini's still trying to find their way to make it big in the Truck Series. There have been many talks surrounding Rackley WAR and Venturini Motorsports about their partnership ending at the conclusion of this season, potentially with Rackley WAR moving over to Chevrolet as well, much like BMR already has, and Venturini running their own shop, running their own Truck Series program out of their ARCA shop. This season, the combination team between Rackley WAR and Venturini Motorsports has ran both Venturini-prepared chassis and Kyle Busch Motorsports built chassis. They've also had 2 drivers this season, with Michael Self for the first 26 races and now Mason Mingus for the last 3. They've found some decent success and speed with the combination of Venturini's in-house chassis and Mason Mingus as the driver. But there is some interest from both sides of the partnership of exploring other opportunities. So potentially we could have those 2 teams split up. Where would Mason Mingus go? Not exactly sure. Most likely with the Rackley WAR side of this deal. Very good driver in the Tennessee area. Willie Allen's from that area. Venturini Motorsports would likely try to make their side which would become independent, much like what we saw out of Stewart and Haas. That's going to, kick into full effect next season. Maybe we could get something like that with Rackley WAR and Venturini Motorsports, where one of them switches makes, heads out on their own. The other one kind of stays where they are, but they stay with their manufacturer and they operate as a completely separate and competing organization. Most likely, Venturini would pick up one of their ARCA drivers to run their trucks next season if they do, in fact, split. Odds are, it seems pretty likely that that's something that they're going to attempt. I do believe that the Rackley WAR side of things wants to try and kind of go out on their own and try something different because they have not found very much success, at least not nearly as much as they had anticipated finding this season working with Venturini Motorsports. And also at the same time, Venturini wants to try and use this team, their Truck Series team, to develop their ARCA drivers even more, bring them up into the higher levels. So I think that really overall, if they did split up, it would be kind of beneficial for both parties. And now, probably the biggest driver news story to come out this week. Following exceptional performance in his first two career Camping World Truck Series starts at both Rockingham and Bristol because he failed to make the race at Darlington, Nick Sanchez, who led laps in both his two Truck Series races so far, he has been signed by Nice Motorsports for the full 2022 Camping World Truck Series season, running the number 45 truck. Al Nice was very impressed by Sanchez's driving during the round of 16 and did not want to give other teams the opportunity to steal that driver away, which is why Nick Sanchez has been signed so quickly into his Truck Series career. It did not take long to impress Al Nice, but you know him. He knows talent when he sees it. He's had it quite a few times before. Honda Generators will continue sponsorship of Nick Sanchez at Nice Motorsports, moving over from Rev Racing. And the number 45 truck will also continue to be sponsored by Nice Motorsports' longtime partners such as Plan B Sales. Rev Racing, on the other hand, who fields the number 6 truck, will continue operations next season in the Camping World Truck Series, taking on their first full-time campaign. With Chase Cabry handling most of the driving duties, while it is also expected that Raja Caruth will run a few races for the team at tracks that he will drive in the NASCAR Xfinity Series as well, getting that extra seat time that is oh so important. Caruth signed to drive part-time for the new Alpha Prime Motorsports in NASCAR's Xfinity Series, so he will not be able to participate in too many Truck Series races. He'll just run the races that are companion events, much like what Sam Mayer has done this season. Also, GMS Racing has a press conference scheduled at North Wilkesboro Speedway announcing their lineup of Camping World Truck Series drivers for next season. All that we know so far is that Holmes and Zane Smith will be returning, but from there we're relying on the press conference to get the rest of the situation. The team will as well be announcing the driver of the number 26 car in the NASCAR Cup Series for the full 2022 season. So watch for the next edition of Post Tech for the full details of GMS Racing's driver lineup for next year. They will be holding that announcement at North Wilkesboro. It should be very interesting to hear what their full lineup is going to be. Now on to some NASCAR Cup Series news. We've got a very intense battle ready to begin in the NASCAR Cup Series with just 10 races remaining on the season. Just coming in to the first race at Darlington, we have Tyler Ankrum versus Harrison Burton, and Chase Elliott versus JTG Daugherty Racing to deal with. All that stuff to monitor just coming in, and that has nothing to do, really, with playoff intensity, with the exception of Chase Elliott being kind of in the midst of a rivalry and a fight for a championship at the same time. This first round is mainly about survival. Top drivers of the sport just need to score some decent finishes and make sure that they do not beat themselves. Martin Truex Jr. won 6 races in the 2019 regular season. What do you have to show for it? He was eliminated after the round of 16. Came into that race with 6 wins. Absolutely dominant season, but it all collapsed in the first round with 3 DNFs. That set a big precedent for these competitors that even knowing that you've found a lot of success in the regular season, it does not mean that advancing through any round is going to be easy. Also, I've got some equipment notes about certain upset teams that are running in this playoffs. Josh Bilicki's cars for the remainder of the season will be prepared by Junior Motorsports, essentially working as a Hendrick Motorsports JRM partnership to build Josh Bilicki's cars. So in a way, that's kind of JRM's first full foray into NASCAR Cup Series competition. We've been hearing rumors about maybe Tommy Baldwin and Dale Earnhardt Jr. working together to field a team next season. We'll see how that goes. This could be the precursor to that, but still at the very least, it's going to be a good opportunity for Bilicki to try and show what he's made of, getting some good equipment for this playoff run. And also, not to mention, they could actually afford to get these cars prepared by JRM because of the huge amount of money that they gained from their Daytona 500 win. That race is a pretty darn big payout. Not to mention their runner-up finish at Road America also just so happened to pay pretty good as well. Michael McDowell is going to be running all the cars that FRM originally prepared for Anthony Alfredo to have a playoff run, as well as they purchased a few cars off of Roush Fenway Racing. As you may recall, Anthony Alfredo won back at Sonoma Raceway, but could not close out a top 30 at the end of the regular season to advance into the playoffs, so his win essentially meant nothing when it came to competing for a championship. But FRM still built up a fairly good fleet of race cars for the playoff run, and we'll have to see just how far Michael McDowell can get with those well-prepared number 34 Fords. Obviously, originally built for Alfredo, maybe there will be some problems with the fact that they developed, the setups for Alfredo, but you can easily swap that over through just the few practice sessions that we have at any given weekend. But still, it'll be very interesting to see McDowell running essentially what is Roush Fenway Racing level equipment instead of what FRM has managed to work with over the course of this season. Still, with their equipment alone, they've won 2 races this year. That's 2 more than Roush Fenway's won. So getting a little bit better equipment, I'm sure that Michael McDowell could be a very legitimate contender over this 10-race playoff. We also have plenty of veterans who missed the playoffs who are only going after wins in these final 10 races, such as champions Brad Keselowski, Kurt Busch, and Clint Boyer, who all 3 barely missed the playoffs but have a great shot at filling up the trophy case in these final 10 races. But none of those 3 drivers want to get a win more than Clint Boyer, who's in his final full-time season of competition in NASCAR's Cup Series and has so far gone winless through 26 races. Boyer's hungry, and he might just get it in these final 10 events of his full-time career. And also a few notes surrounding team discussions in the NASCAR Cup Series. Roush Fenway Racing has obviously struggled quite a bit in the last season and a half or so, I guess more appropriately. Now likely downsizing to a 1-car operation next season. But a new possibility of a partnership has emerged over this last week or two. There are talks going on between Jack Roush and Rick Ware about some sort of partnership next season for them to field a 2-car program together. Much like how Dale Coyne Racing has formed a partnership with Rick Ware to field entries in the NTT Data IndyCar Series. We cannot confirm any of these details, however, it is likely that a partnership would benefit both programs because RWR has failed to make multiple races this season, but they do bring in sponsorship. That's incredibly important. They also got a second-place finish at the Bristol Dirt Track with J.J. Yaley, so they have shown some performance. Roush, on the other hand, occasionally has competitive entries, mainly from the number 6 team of Ryan Newman, and also has multiple races, though, with just Roush's name on the hood of the 17, so they're running unsponsored. Much like what we've seen at Dale Coyne Racing, in IndyCar, a potential partnership between Roush and Ware could bring some speed to 2 organizations that really need it. Now, we can't confirm what's going on between those 2, but there have been talks between Rick Ware and Jack Roush. You might need to watch out for those 2 coming into next season. There might be something built up together with Ware and Roush. But now, finally, the playoff battle in the NASCAR Cup Series is about to begin. The whole 26-race regular season came down to a three-man battle at Daytona between Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, and Denny Hamlin, with Logano clinching that title in a winless run by 4 points above Harvick in the Coke Zero Sugar 400. The top 16 playoff contenders are set, with just 10 races left to decide a champion at Atlanta Motor Speedway. So without further delay, here are the highlights of the round of 16 races in the NASCAR Cup Series. The Cookout Southern 500 from Darlington, the final race of the Drive for 5. Keep that in mind. Nobody can win the prize because we haven't had a driver who's won 2 of the Crown Jewel races this season, but still, the final race of a competition that nobody can win. But that's happened before with the Winston Million, that sort of thing. Also, along with the Southern 500, we have the North Carolina Education Lottery 500 from Rockingham Speedway, always a fun one there. And finally, the Bass Pro Shops Night Race from Bristol. In the race analysis, the Cookout Southern 500 from Darlington Raceway will take place over the course of 184 laps around this 1.366-mile egg-shaped oval here in South Carolina, with stage number 1 ending on lap 46 and stage 2 coming to its conclusion on lap 92. The big keys to this race are the fact that it is a very long race, 184 laps. It's going to turn into a race of attrition, and like what I mentioned earlier, a race of survival. Make sure you keep your car clean, and more importantly, stay off the outside wall. We talked about the Darlington stripe here. Well, tonight, you definitely don't want to earn it, because it could pretty much already put you in a hole for contending for the round of 12. This is a very unique racetrack as well. Much like what we saw in the Camping World Truck Series, expect veterans to rise to the top after the course of these 184 laps. It favors a driver who knows how to keep their equipment together and, more importantly, how to keep their tires gripping well. This is a very abrasive racetrack, not quite what it used to be when drivers wanted to pit every 5 or so laps for tires. It was that abrasive. This place got repaved back in 2008, but it started to wear quite a bit. So keep your eyes on tire management and tire strategy as well. It's a little bit difficult to pass here at Darlington, but late into a race, if a bunch of cars opt to stay out, we get a few takers on tires, they will be able to carve their way through the field rather quickly, so tire strategy might just be a very critical component of tonight's Southern 500. Also, I mentioned the surface being very abrasive. Well, not from the center of turns 1 and 2 out, because there is a new patch of asphalt on that part of the racetrack, which has been nicknamed the Patch. It's completely brand new, dark black asphalt that was just put on before this year's edition of the Southern 500. If your car is loose, it will tighten up when you run over that. If your car is tight, it will loosen up when you run over that. New pavement fixes pretty much any handling problem that you have. So really now, turns 1 and 2 is about how well you can handle the turn-in and the center on the old pavement. Once you get onto that new pavement, that area pretty much holds your car secure, and you don't need to worry too much about handling there. And that actually puts even more emphasis on the, in my opinion, tougher end of the speedway, turns 3 and 4. That's the tight end of the racetrack. Very hard to get your car to handle on both sets of corners. It always turns into a compromise. Not quite like what we see at Pocono, but still quite a compromise here at Darlington to get your car to handle well. Setup is critical at this racetrack. And finally, folks, it's the playoffs. So what is your goal here tonight if you're one of the top 16? It's to come out here and win. You don't want to even have to think about Rockingham or Bristol if you can win here tonight in the Southern 500. Not only is this a crown jewel race, but it could propel a driver one step closer to a championship. Here are your reseeded point standings coming into tonight's Cookout Southern 500 following the Coke Zero Sugar 400 at Daytona, which concluded our regular season. Daniel Suarez, following the recalculation, obviously adding together all the playoff points in the full reset, he moves to the top of the point standings with his 3 victories on the season and 4th place finish in regular season points. So Suarez begins this playoff on top of the leaderboard. Kevin Harvick and Joe Logano both set 7 points out of the point lead currently. Chase Elliott moves up to 4th. He sets 8 points out. Hamlin now running 5th, 9 points out. Kyle Busch, Brandon Jones, Chase Briscoe, and Alex Bowman are all 12 points away from point leader Suarez. Martin Truex Jr. is 15 points out of the point lead. Larson, 16 points out. And Benedetto, Allgaier, Bilicki, McDowell, and Grella, essentially all your upset drivers, are equally setting 17 points out of the point lead. Behind them, you can see the leading drivers in points who will not have a shot at the championship, those being Clint Boyer currently setting best of the rest, not in playoff contention, 17th in points, then Jones 18th, Keselowski 19th, and Tyler Reddick setting in 20th. And so now the playoffs have begun. NASCAR switched to a slightly different method of next-gen car testing. Instead of it just being one team invited to test all of their cars, it's now 2 randomly selected cars from each manufacturer. So 2 Chevrolets, 2 Fords, 2 Toyotas. So the represented cars testing at Darlington Raceway included Myatt Snyder in the 43, Bubba Wallace in the 23, Ryan Blaney in the 12, Kyle Busch in the 18 car, the 3 of Austin Dillon, and the 14 of Clint Boyer. All 6 drivers noticed that some of the uncertainty in handling that you have at Darlington Raceway, whether or not you're right on the edge of grip, is somewhat gone with this car, and that's because it's a lot more responsive in the rear end. Now, in the front end of the car, it feels a little bit freer. That's because you don't have all that side force to lean on. But when it comes to the rear end, all that mechanical grip you have back there, it makes getting back onto the throttle, especially through on the exit of turn number 4, a lot easier. Because you don't really have to deal with all that wheel spin in the right rear of the car wanting to kick out from underneath you. This car grips up a whole lot better, and that is mainly due to the wider tires all around this race car. It does help with front grip a little bit as well, but not quite as much because of the aero differences. Obviously, this car is symmetrical. One thing that is noticeable, when you do start to break traction, it's very sudden. It doesn't kind of lead you slowly into it like our current Cup Series cars do, where you kind of get a few seconds to chase it, as they say, when you're trying to save your race car. With this thing, once it breaks loose, it kind of just is lost in many ways. So that's in a few ways concerning, but all 6 drivers were rather impressed with what they felt, and in particular how different it is compared to our current Generation 6 Cup car. And the lack of aerodynamic footprint that this thing puts out with its lesser downforce should make passing a little bit easier, like what we just saw right there. Bubba Wallace getting around Myatt Snyder. Made it look very easy down on the bottom of the racetrack. In the starting lineup, Chase Elliott has began his playoff run by scoring the pole here in the Cookout Southern 500 in the number 9 Lumar Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports. Daniel Suarez qualifies the 00 car, him being the point leader, starting from 2nd position. Eric Jones, who runs awfully well at this racetrack, qualifies his JTG Daugherty racing car in the 3rd position. Watch out for him and Chase Elliott, by the way. Those two already have that history coming into this race from Daytona. Kevin Harvick qualifies the 4 car in 4th. Chase Briscoe in 5th position. Clint Boyer in 6th in what is potentially his final Southern 500. Kyle Larson qualifies his 57 car in 7th spot. Joe Logano in 8th position. Jan Magnussen getting a good starting spot in 9th. And Ryan Blaney rounding out your top 10. Other notable starters include Martin Truex Jr. in 11th position. Myatt Snyder 12th. Kaz Grella in 13th spot, Alex Bowman in 15th, Michael McDowell 16th, Kyle Busch starting from the 17th position. Ryan Preece qualified for tonight's event for Trackhouse Racing in 20th. Part-time driver Ty Dillon in the number 31 for Germain Racing. Obviously, they intended on running all the super speedways and crown jewel races. Well, they made the race here at Darlington. They are rolling off in 21st position. The 20 of Brandon Jones will start from 22nd, the 42 of Justin Allgaier 23rd, the 11 of Hamlin in 26th spot, the 26 car of Tyler Ankrum starting from 27th. Ankrum obviously has already been signed to Hendrick Motorsports for next season's campaign. The 1 of Kurt Busch, who's still without a ride for next season, starts from 28th position. The 89 of Landon Castle starts from 30th. The 3 of Austin Dillon from 32nd. The 2 of Matt DiBenedetto from 33rd position. The 23 of Bubba Wallace will start from 35th. Playoff contender Josh Blicky starts his number 71 car in 37th position. Ryan Newman rolls off 38th spot. Noah Gragson made the race for Brennan Gaughan Motorsports starting from 39th position. The 7 of Corey LaJoie, a part-time contender for Spire Motorsports, qualified in 40th. The 95 of Harrison Burton qualified down in 41st, and Ross Chastain rounds out the field in the 55 car, qualifying in 42nd position. The drivers who did not make the Cookout Southern 500 here from Darlington include the number 24 of William Byron. A big DNQ there. He is obviously not coming back to Hendrick Motorsports next season, but his teammate Chase Elliott qualifies on the pole. Byron got in trouble coming off of turn number 2 during qualifying, and it knocked him out of the Cookout Southern 500. The 38 of Anthony Alfredo did not make this race, neither did the 46 of Chad Fincham, 51 of Cody Ware, 52 of J.J. Yaley, 66 of Timmy Hill, 78 of B.J. McLeod, and 96 of Drew Herring, all missing the field for the Southern 500. And when the green flag flew for the 2021 NASCAR Cup Series playoffs, the pole sitter, the 9 car of Chase Elliott, got a good jump down to turn number 1. But watch the 37 of Eric Jones. He's very good at this racetrack. Gets right up on the left rear quarter panel. The 9 of Chase Elliott dives all the way down to the apron, going beneath the new patch area, and Elliott clobbers the outside wall. 37 of Eric Jones takes away the race lead going down the back straightaway. 9 of Elliott dropping back with the 53 of Briscoe now taking up second, being the highest running playoff contender. The 9 car of Elliott still getting swarmed. Obviously the handling characteristic of that 9 car has been thrown off by running up into the outside wall. You have to wonder if he's knocked in the toe on the right front. You have to watch out whether or not he'll have a tire rub, as he's still dropping back very quickly. On lap 2, Kevin Harvick makes a very similar mistake while running for third with Larson. Runs it a little bit too deep through turns 3 and 4 and makes pretty significant contact up into the outside wall. And at the same time, the 53 of Briscoe got the run to the inside of the 37 of Eric Jones and took away the race lead through turns 1 and 2. Chase Briscoe now out front. 57 of Larson gets down to the inside and takes away second. On lap number 5, Jones pulls the exact same move on Briscoe. Gets a little bit lower entry. 37 car really points through the center of the corner, gets right up to that left rear quarter panel, pulls that 53 car back. And Eric Jones does not quite beat him down to the start-finish line, but he does get him through turns 1 and 2. Eric Jones back out front with now Larson assuming the second position. Lap number 6, we get our first caution of the night as two playoff contenders start running into each other. Matt DiBenedetto running 3 wide all the way on the apron, running beneath the patch. A little bit less grip down there. He's going to have to try and use up the racetrack coming off of turn number 2, and he uses up just a little bit too much. Slides up into the 19 of Martin Truex Jr. Those two make contact about 2 or 3 times. There's a second time they hook. 19 and 2 cars both go up into the outside wall. Truex then finishes off the 2. He gets slammed by the 10 of Almirola. The 8 of Reddick gets a little bit of damage out of this. Also the 31 of Ty Dillon. DiBenedetto still spinning down the back straightaway and gets clipped by the 95 of Harrison Burton. A 4-car accident coming off of turn number 2 and down the back straightaway here at Darlington. And this caution was a very lucky break for certain drivers, including the number 9 team of Chase Elliott, who had the opportunity to come down pit road and assess that damage that they had on that turn 2 incident that they had with Elliott getting up into the outside wall. We had quite a few more contenders come down pit road, those being the drivers who were involved in some type of either wall contact over the first 7 laps or got into that accident. So down pit road with Elliott include names like Snyder, Ankrum, Dillon, and Reddick, and quite a few others as well, such as Blaney and DiBenedetto. On the second lap under caution, we have yet another taker, this time being the 89 of Landon Castle coming into the pits, and I should mention that we had 2 cars drop out of the race following that accident off of turn 2, those being the 10 of Almirola and the 95 of Harrison Burton. Looks like we will not see the continuation of the Ankrum-Burton conflict here tonight, with Harrison Burton already out before lap 10. Playoff contender Matt DiBenedetto, though, is still on the racetrack. They did as much damage repair as they possibly could have without dropping 1 lap down. There's no rear bumper cover on that 2 car, but in many ways that could help you. That's a reduction of downforce, at least on the rear end, but in some ways you also don't want that. So that's going to help him a lot on the straightaways, but not nearly as much as he'd want through the corners. It's going to make the car awfully free. Green flag comes back out on lap number 10. Eric Jones cuts down to the bottom of the track to try and defend from the 57 of Larson. Clint Boyer makes a good move on the 57 as Larson moves up the track to try and figure out a way around the 37. Boyer takes advantage of that move, side drafts the 57 car back. That opens up a big gap for the 37 of Eric Jones. And Larson gets moved up 3 wide all the way up to the top of the racetrack by the 33 of Jan Magnussen, with Boyer taking over second. Magnussen now going for the second spot, and the 57 of Larson dropping quickly. Kyle Larson ran his trademark high line to near perfection on lap number 12. Look at how close he gets to the wall. In fact, makes a little bit of contact in the apex of 1 and 2. Not too much, though. Points off the wall and keeps going in 5th position as Magnussen now takes over 2nd position. The road course ace running well at one of NASCAR's toughest ovals. On lap number 12, Harvick's troubles continue as he comes up into the outside wall through turns 3 and 4 for the 2nd time of the night. Quite a bit of right side damage on that 4 car, already hit the wall twice in just 12 laps. And the drivers made note of Larson making up time all the way up towards the wall. Logano tried to make it happen and actually got up pretty significantly into the outside wall through turns 1 and 2. Couldn't quite get off it nearly as quickly as Larson did, riding it through the majority of those sets of corners. Lap number 14, the race leader of Eric Jones tries to move up the racetrack as well. Overdoes it, gets up into the outside wall through turns 3 and 4. With a very hard hit into the wall, Jan Magnussen capitalizes on that mistake and takes away the top spot on lap number 14. Larson already starting to mount a charge back towards the front as well, going to the inside of Boyer, challenging him for 3rd. And watch this move that Ryan Blaney puts on the field on lap number 15. Do not ask me how this worked. Blaney enters the corner already on the apron. And watch how he races the 19 of Truex, the 6 of Newman, and the 23 of Bubba Wallace. Almost 2 car widths onto the apron, now running 4 wide, coming off of turn number 2. Probably the narrowest part of the racetrack. Newman and Wallace make contact, but Ryan Blaney drives through. They get back down to 3 wide racing, and Blaney passes 3 cars in 1 corner. at Darlington Raceway. A very impressive move. He's very lucky that it didn't end up in a massive crash. Lap 16, Daniel Suarez, playoff contender in the 00 car and current point leader, makes a 3-wide move on Larson and Eric Jones to go from 4th to 2nd through turns 1 and 2 with his left sides down on the apron. Lap 16, the 4 car of Harvick back into the outside wall. 3 times he slammed the wall through 3 and 4 in just 16 laps. Impressive that he has not had a tire failure as of yet. On lap 17, Jan Magnussen in the 33 car pushes up the racetrack, allowing his teammate Daniel Suarez to sneak by on the inside, taking away the top spot here at Darlington Raceway. And you know, by lap number 19, the highest running Joe Gibbs Racing entry is the number 20 of Brandon Jones. He's running all the way down in 19th position. You can see farther behind him, we have the 11 of Hamlin, who's running in this gaggle, 3 wide coming into turn 3. Farther back behind Hamlin, we have the 19 and 18 cars of Truex and Kyle Busch, as the 7 of Corey LaJoie made contact with the outside wall towards the back of the field. You can see the last place running playoff contender is currently the damaged number 2 of Matt DiBenedetto. Second to last of the playoff runners is the 34 of Michael McDowell. On lap 23, we have a big mess of playoff contenders running all in a group, including Gralla, Briscoe, Allgaier, Bowman, and Harvick, with right now Kaz Gralla holding on to the 6th position. Briscoe trying to make a 3-wide move on him, but he concedes coming down to turn number 1. Gralla currently holding a very good run right now in 6th position for Richard Childress Racing. Lap 26, we have a crash involving a playoff contender running all the way down in 35th position. Look at this run the 61 of Bell has coming into turn 1. He tries to use that run. 34 of McDowell just cuts him off like the 61 was not there. Bell committed to the bottom line of the racetrack, did not lift when those two made contact, sending Michael McDowell around. And the scariest moment was when McDowell was backing up onto the banking. The 2 of Matt DiBenedetto was crossing by at the very same time, nearly clobbering the 34 of Michael McDowell. But fortunately, those two did not make contact, and both McDowell and obviously DiBenedetto will continue in this race after this. On lap 27, we get some pretty interesting pit strategy, with some of the field opting to come down pit road on this first lap under the caution, and the rest waiting for the second lap. On the first lap, pit stop drivers include the 47 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr., the 4 of Kevin Harvick, the 37 of Eric Jones, and about half of the field, including a multitude of playoff contenders, such as the 9 of Chase Elliott, the 19 of Martin Truex Jr., the 11 of Denny Hamlin, and obviously the 2 damaged playoff contenders of McDowell and DiBenedetto. Lap 28, the rest of the cars that stayed out opt to come down pit road. This includes all of your leaders, such as Suarez, Larson, Clint Boyer, all the way back to Ty Dillon, except we had 1 car actually miss the pit entry, that being the 48 of Alex Bowman. No, he did not stay out for some type of abstract strategy. He missed the turn-in. So he's going to have to come down pit road on the 3rd lap under the caution flag and restart tail end. But now, the front runners are going to be all the drivers who came down pit road under the 1st lap under the caution flag. So your new top 3 is Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the 47 for JTG Daugherty Racing, then the 55 of Ross Chastain, and the 12 of Ryan Blaney. So this pretty much effectively has led to a full field inversion in many ways, because pretty much the bottom half of the field is now the front half, and the front half is now the bottom half. First car off pit road was Suarez, getting out in front of Larson and then Kurt Busch, but these guys will restart down from 19th to 21st positions. On lap 30, the green flag comes out with the 47 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. getting a relatively good jump above the 55, but keep your eyes on the damaged 2 of Matt DiBenedetto, really jumbling up the field in the run down to turn number 1. Quite a bit of damage on that 2 car, spun his tires on the restart, and that allows Suarez down on the bottom to make a 3-wide move coming off of turn 2, with the 37 getting shuffled out all the way towards the outside wall. Very intense racing, but everyone keeps it clean. Through turns 3 and 4, though, new race leader Ricky Stenhouse Jr. sends it in way too deep, makes contact with the outside wall, rides it coming off of turn 4, allowing Ross Chastain to take away the race lead. And keep in mind, he started this race down in 42nd. So in just 32 laps, he went from last to first. And on lap 32, if things couldn't get bad enough for playoff contender Alex Bowman, missed his pit on the first cycle of pit stops, now back down pit road for a loose wheel. While running in second on lap 32, Logano oversteps his entry to turn 3 and makes contact with the outside wall. He keeps it going in the right direction, though, and because of the gap back to the 47, maintains second for the moment. And watch this through turns 3 and 4 on lap 34. The 89 of Landon Castle makes contact with the outside wall. That bunches up the field just a little bit, and Larson makes a 4-wide move to the inside. Coming off the 4th corner towards the back of the field, Larson picks up about 7 positions in that move down on the apron. By lap 37, the 00 of Daniel Suarez, who restarted down in 19th position, has already made his way back up to 6th spot. Definitely has one of the best cars here tonight for the Southern 500. Lap 37, the 26 of Tyler Ankrum takes over the 2nd position off the 22 of Joey Logano, and that opens up the opportunity for Kevin Harvick down on the inside to now become the top running playoff contender. And these 3 drivers battling so intently for second has allowed the 55 of Chastain to now hold a 3.3 second gap above the second place runners with less than 10 laps to go in stage number 1. On lap 44, while racing side by side with Chase Elliott, Justin Allgaier oversteps his entry to turn number 3 and makes pretty significant contact with the outside wall, once again riding it through the exit of turn number 4 and loses quite a bit of track position with that mistake. And watch this move through turns 3 and 4. The 20 of Brandon Jones dives in on the outside of the 47 and now 8 of Reddick, but defending Southern 500 winner Myatt Snyder, season opening all the way on the apron in that 43 car, makes a 4-wide move and passes 3 cars in 1 corner. Snyder trying to defend his victory here in the Southern 500, quickly carving his way through the field for Richard Petty Motorsports. And by the final lap of stage number 1, the 4 of Kevin Harvick has officially assumed the 2nd spot. But the 55 of Ross Chastain now holds a 5.3 second gap above that number 4, running unopposed through the final 2 corners. Ross Chastain brings the 55 Nutrient Ag Solutions Chevrolet onto the front straightaway to take home the victory in stage number 1, the Cookout Southern 500. Kevin Harvick brings the number 4 car home in 2nd, Ankrum in 3rd, Logano 4th, and the 12 of Blaney in 5th position. Ross Chastain takes home the stage number 1 victory. Doesn't this sound familiar? Chastain and Harvick racing each other here at Darlington. Sounds like an Xfinity Series race here just a few years prior. On lap number 47, following the conclusion of stage number 1, Ross Chastain leads the entire field down pit road. And we had quite a bit of trouble coming off of pit road. You see right there, the 19 of Martin Truex Jr. coming out of his pit stall. So is the 22 of Logano, and they actually converge right here. Logano with a very sharp exit, Truex carrying momentum, and Truex makes some pretty significant contact with the right side of the 22 of Joey Logano. Obviously accidental, but a lot of right side damage on that 22. They're likely both going to need to come back down pit road to get some damage repair. Oh, and that was not the end of playoff drivers getting in trouble on pit road. Watch the 4 of Harvick trying to come off pit road as the 37 of Jones comes in. They almost perfectly make contact with each other. Front end damage on playoff contender Harvick. Left side damage on the 37 of Jones. And watch this, Harvick tries to accelerate out of this. Jones turns in left. Harvick then gets squeezed up into the inside wall and actually makes a little bit of contact with the rear bumper cover of the 00 of Daniel Suarez. Harvick then gets stuck between the 37 and the 00 of Suarez and Jones. Absolutely nowhere he can go, and a lot of track position lost in this mistake. The 37 and 00 cars came off pit road with relatively minimal damage repair, but the 4 of Harvick was still setting in his pit stall. They had to back him into his own stall, and they are now conducting work on the 4 of Harvick to try and get him back into contention. And on the second lap under the yellow flag period, the 22 of Joey Logano came down pit road to try and assess some of that right side damage that he got in that impact with Martin Truex Jr. However, the 19 of Truex is still on the racetrack. On lap 51, they got the 4 car of Kevin Harvick back out onto the racetrack, but he is already 1 lap behind the race leader. And so your top three cars off of pit road are the 26 of Tyler Ankrum, now taking away the race lead in the pits off the 55 of Ross Chastain. Chastain down to second spot, and the damaged number 19 of Martin Truex Jr. will restart in third spot. And on the restart, the damaged nature of the number 19 of Truex showed very quickly as the number 26 and 55 cars very much gapped him on the jump into turn number 1. Blaney made the move down to the inside to try and get around the 19 of Truex, and Truex actually pushed, coming off the corner and up into the outside wall. Now right side damage on the 19 of Truex as well. 55 of Chastain tries to make the move through turns 3 and 4 on the 26 of Ankrum. Left side's down on the apron as Truex back into the outside wall, as well as the 99 of Ryan Preece. At the line, it was Tyler Ankrum holding the top spot. Now these two battle through turns 1 and 2 as Ross Chastain takes away the race lead once again. 21 of Cindric down on the apron, trying to take second. And watch this move coming down to turn number 1 by Ryan Newman. Sees an opening down on the inside and muscles his way past the 23 of Bubba Wallace, making door-to-door contact through turns 1 and 2. Newman takes away the 7th position with that move down on the inside and then slides his way right up in front of the 1 of Kurt Busch off turn 2. And you know, by lap 55, the top playoff contender right now is the 20 of Brandon Jones running in 4th position. Clint Boyer currently holds 3rd, Cindric running in 2nd, and Chastain once again gapping the field, now more than 1 second separating him from the 2nd place runner. Lap 58, contact gets made coming into turn number 3 between Briscoe and McDowell. McDowell slows down a little bit more than Briscoe anticipated, running, or at least attempting to try and run down on the apron. Briscoe made contact with his right rear, almost turning him around. Briscoe makes a pass up on the outside as McDowell goes for a very impressive save. Lap 61, the 21 of Austin Cindric overdrives turns 3 and 4, slides up, makes pretty hard contact into the outside wall, allows the 20 of Brandon Jones get the run down on the inside, but in the battle through turns 1 and 2, Austin Cindric actually bests Jones coming off the 2nd corner, pitches him right down on the bottom of the racetrack, takes the air off that rear spoiler, and the 21 of Cindric successfully fights back and retakes the 2nd spot coming off turn 2. However, lap 63, Cindric makes the exact same mistake. These two now running side by side into turn 3. Watch the 21. Moves up the racetrack, tries to sail in a lot of momentum, clips the outside wall, rides it all the way off turn 4. That time loses a lot of momentum, and Boyer actually makes the move down the inside for 2nd, with Brandon Jones still being the top playoff contender, now running in 3rd spot. Lap 64, while Brandon Jones and Clint Boyer were battling for 2nd, the 12 of Blaney rolled great momentum on the center of turns 3 and 4. Got up side by side with both the 20 and the 14, and took away the 2nd position in the 12 car for Team Penske. But currently, by almost 3 seconds, the 55 of Ross Chastain still dominating this field. And on lap 65, Kyle Busch has struggled all night long. He is running down in 35th position and has gone absolutely nowhere since the start of this race. Lap 73, Brandon Jones started to drop back quite a bit, now racing for 6th position. Coming off turn 2, slaps the outside wall. Now racing the 11 of Hamlin and the 57 of Larson to be the top running playoff contender in the Southern 500. Overdrives turn number 3 and once again gets into the outside wall twice in 1 lap and drops well outside of the top 10 with that mistake. You know, we have not talked very much about Noah Gragson running tonight's Southern 500 in the 62 for Brendan Gaughan. He's getting a pretty good run so far. Resides in 22nd position. Not too bad for this brand new organization. How about this playoff contender Josh Blicky as well, running in 17th spot, running just as consistent as he needs to potentially advance into the next round of the playoffs. Lap 76, the 20 of Brandon Jones has driven his way all the way back up into the thick of the battle to become the highest running playoff contender when he makes the exact same mistake through turns 3 and 4, overdrives a corner, makes contact with the outside wall, lets his teammate Martin Truex Jr. get around him, as well as the 6 of Ryan Newman. On lap 78, we had what was nearly an accident. The 21 of Austin Cindric slides up the racetrack through turns 3 and 4, makes a little bit of contact with that outside wall. The 20 of Brandon Jones tries to close that gap, actually makes even more contact into the left rear wheel of the 21 of Cindric, slides coming off of turn number 4. Does a good job at keeping that 20 car corrected, although the wall kind of caught him, but still no caution in what nearly could have been a multi-car accident. Also, how about this? The number 1 of Kurt Busch, currently running in 4th position. He almost won the championship last season, but has had a very quiet season this year. Just bad luck all the way around. Lots of pit stop mistakes and really things outside of his control. He did not even make the playoffs this season. Right now, getting a fairly good run at a track that he also almost won at last season. On lap 82, after hitting the outside wall numerous times, Justin Allgaier's car had enough. Loses power coming down to turn number 1, and the 42 of Justin Allgaier comes to a stop off of the second corner, bring out a caution flag very close to the end of stage number 2. And so Justin Allgaier's Southern 500 has come to an early end. The number 42 team brought that car behind the wall, and they are done for the day. And now, Ross Chastain leads the entire field down pit road once again. We've had quite a bit of trouble with playoff drivers so far. The 42 of Allgaier out of the race. 48 of Bowman, 1 lap down. 2 of Matt DiBenedetto also 1 lap down, as well as the 4 of Kevin Harvick. It has definitely not been an easy night for the playoff contenders so far. 2 non-playoff drivers lead the field with Chastain and Ryan Blaney. Lap number 85, we had even more proof of why it's so difficult to come down pit road when there's the entirety of the field sitting there with you. Coming into his pit stall is Jan Magnussen. Coming off is the 12 of Ryan Blaney. These two collide. Front end damage on the 33, right side damage on the 12 of Ryan Blaney. Not quite as severe as what we saw between Logano and Truex, but still it's very tough to try and stay off of everyone when there is more than 40 cars on pit road at one time. And on the second lap under caution, the 12 of Ryan Blaney comes back down pit road for the damage that he sustained in the run-in with Jan Magnussen. And so now your new top 3 following the pit stops has Ross Chastain still out front, Denny Hamlin now running in second, the highest running playoff contender, and defending Southern 500 winner Myatt Snider setting in 3rd position. Also, how about this? With a lightning-fast pit stop, the 62 of Noah Gragson now resides in 7th position. Also, the 7 of Corey LaJoie running in 8th spot. Good runs for quite a few upsets so far here tonight. And the restart with 5 laps to go in stage number 2 was nothing short of wild. The 55 of Chastain does not get the restart that he wanted, allowing the 11 of Hamlin to make the move on him coming into turn number 1. Getting side by side with the 55 car coming off the second corner, and Hamlin makes the move for the top spot. However, through turns 1 and 2, the 99 of Ryan Preece, his engine expired right in front of the majority of the field. A lot of drivers were lucky enough to cut down to the inside line and avoid making contact with the 99. But watch this as the racetrack narrows up coming off of turn number 2. The 21 of Cindric has absolutely nowhere to go, makes contact with the 99. Truex does a great job at squeezing by up on the top of the track. Now the 21 and 99 cars are in a spin. 47 of Stenhouse has absolutely nowhere to go. Neither does the 34 of McDowell. The 17 of Chris Buescher. 18 of Kyle Busch gets involved in this one. That's a playoff contender. 4 of Harvick was able to miss this accident, as well as the 48 of Alex Bowman. But a big crash coming off of turn number 2 has brought an early end to stage number 2. And here's the accident in real time. Right there, Preece's engine expires right up in front of the field. There's absolutely nowhere to go as these competitors running now. Right there, 4 wide, makes contact with him. 21, 47, 34, 18. The racetrack is practically clogged right there as the track narrows up coming off of turn 2. And a lot of cars involved in this one on lap 88. Racing back to the caution flag, the 62 of Noah Gragson oversteps his entry to turn number 3 and makes significant contact into the outside wall. But racing back to the start-finish line, it was the number 11 of Denny Hamlin with a very sneaky restart move on the 55 of Ross Chastain. Onto the front straightaway, Denny Hamlin will win stage number 2 here in the Southern 500. Hamlin takes home the stage 2 victory above defending Southern 500 winner Myatt Snider. Then Kyle Larson in third, Ross Chastain all the way down in fourth, and Kurt Busch rounding out your top five. And following stage number 2 under the caution flag, we have a couple cars dive down pit road, including the 62 of Noah Gragson, the 12 of Ryan Blaney, and the 34 of Michael McDowell, who all got damaged in one way or another over that one lap that we had under green to determine the stage 2 victor. And so we had a couple cars drop out of the race following that big accident off of turn number 2. Those include the number 99 of Ryan Preece and the 47 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who get their Cookout Southern 500 ended early. And after the restart on lap 93, Denny Hamlin got a pretty good jump as well as exit of turn 2. But watch his lead disappear through 3 and 4. 43 of Myatt Snyder gets a very good turn in, pressures the 11 car up the racetrack, and Snyder picks up where he left off last season. 43 car, Myatt Snyder out front here in the Southern 500. And unfortunately, on lap 94, Ryan Blaney has to come down pit road for a loose wheel. This team has had absolutely no luck this season. Lap 94, the 14 of Clint Boyer oversteps his entry to turn number 3, gets up into the outside wall through 3 and 4, allowing Ryan Newman to take away the 6th position. And how about Bubba Wallace running in 7th for 23XI Racing? This team needs some good momentum, and they are finding it here tonight. Lap 96. Kyle Larson in his very own number 57 car takes away the 2nd place position off the 11 of Denny Hamlin. Larson now the top running playoff contender. This could very well be his best chance at advancement. This team has lacked a lot of the pace that they've needed to get the job done this season, but Larson, his driving ability makes up for a lot of that here at Darlington. And they could potentially advance their way into the round of 12 following this Cookout Southern 500. It'd also be one of the biggest wins of Larson's career, and it would be up there with his Coke 600 victory that he scored earlier this season. And Kurt Busch had actually managed to take away the 2nd spot off the 57 of Kyle Larson, but on lap 98, Larson takes it back. It's a good run off of turn number 4, goes side by side with the 1 of Kurt Busch, and instead of Kurt Busch conceding that position down into turn number 1, he instead tries to stay side by side with the 57, overdrives turn 1, and makes contact up into the outside wall, dropping back just a little bit with that mistake. Lap 102, Kyle Larson in the number 57 car is able to hold great momentum right down on the bottom line of the racetrack. 43 of Myatt Snyder drops back. And at the start-finish line, Kyle Larson is now your race leader here at Darlington Raceway. Lap 103, we have a 3-man battle for 2nd spot. Chastain, Snyder, and Hamlin all vying for it. But 2 of those 3 go up into the outside wall on lap 103. Snyder and Chastain ride the wall, opening the door wide open for Denny Hamlin to take up the 2nd spot. Lap 105, Denny Hamlin makes a very aggressive move on the number 57 of Kyle Larson. Gets barely side by side with him. Coming down into turn number 1, forces the 57 up the racetrack, and pulls off what is essentially a slide job on him. Coming off turn number 2, uses up all the racetrack he can, and Hamlin, now the race leader here at Darlington. On lap 109, watch this very impressive move by Daniel Suarez. Eric Jones up in front of him gets it into the outside wall. He turns down underneath the 37, has the 23 of Bubba Wallace on his inside, makes a 3-wide move through the middle, and cracks the top 10. Suarez on a mission towards the front. Lap 112. Playoff contender Chase Briscoe makes contact with the turns 3 and 4 wall, earning his Darlington stripe at least a little bit late in this race, but still loses a lot of momentum coming off of turn number 4. Lap 118, Briscoe's teammate Daniel Suarez makes the exact same mistake, racing side by side with the 37 of Eric Jones once again, oversteps his entry, makes contact with that outside wall, and rides it coming off of the 4th turn, losing about 5 spots in the process. On lap 121, Kyle Larson has ran down race leader Denny Hamlin in that number 11 car. However, they get to battling for the top spot, and that allows Kurt Busch, Ross Chastain, and Tyler Ankrum to all close the gap. Watch this through turns 3 and 4. Kurt Busch gets a very good run, diamonds off the corner, makes the move to the inside of the 57 of Larson, and now that opens up the gap for the 11 of Hamlin. Kurt Busch now to 2nd spot. Lap 123, Ryan Newman makes a very aggressive turn in to the third turn and actually makes a little bit of contact with the playoff contender of Kaz Gralla. Nothing too severe, but could have been a big moment between Newman and Gralla in the third turn. Lap 124, Kurt Busch tries to pull the exact same move he pulled on Larson to try and make his way around the race leader of Denny Hamlin. In fact, gets side by side with him on the front straightaway, but look at how low Hamlin is forcing him into the first turn. Takes some of the air off the rear spoiler of the one. Hamlin almost perfects Kyle Larson's line right there through turns 1 and 2 and makes the move stick with the momentum off the outside line. And so we've had a pretty good stretch of green flag racing. So now on lap 131, Kyle Busch opens up our pit window by being the first car to hit pit road under green. The 26 of Tyler Ankrum has now assumed the second position, but down on the inside, Kurt Busch takes it right away. Lap 133, while Hamlin was getting stuck up in lap traffic and Kurt Busch was racing Snyder for second, he practically misses turn number 3, just drives in way, way too hard, slams the outside wall in that one Chip Ganassi Racing Chevrolet all the way outside the top 5, and Myatt Snyder takes away the second position as the one of Hamlin laps McDowell and Gregson. Lap 135, the 19 of Martin Truex Jr., the playoff contender, comes down pit road. On the same lap, the 57 of Kyle Larson also pits, trying to short pit this field and get that track position to stay out in front. Lap 136, race leader Denny Hamlin comes down pit road, as well as the one of Kurt Busch and fellow playoff contender Josh Bilicki in the 71 car. The new race leader is Myatt Snyder in the 43 as he stays out on the racetrack. Lap 137, more of the race-leading cars come down pit road, including Snyder and Chastain. However, Ankrum stays on the racetrack, trying to overcut the field in that 26 for GMS Racing, or potentially hoping for a yellow flag. Lap 138, teammates Daniel Suarez and Chase Briscoe come down pit road at the same time, employing a team strategy. Also, because of the pit strategy, this number 4 team of Kevin Harvick has stayed out, hoping for a yellow flag, because they currently have made their lap back and are running in 14th position. It'd be a huge break for them if they could catch a caution. Lap 140, 5th place runner and playoff contender Brandon Jones comes down pit road. Following Brandon Jones down, we also have Christopher Bell, Joey Logano, Jan Magnussen, and Corey LaJoie. Lap 140, the race leader Tyler Ankrum comes down pit road, as well as a few other drivers who were staying out on the racetrack, including Brad Keselowski, Ryan Newman, and Landon Castle, all hitting the pits this time by. Bubba Wallace in this number 23 car for 2311 Racing has stayed out on the racetrack and has at least been credited with leading one lap. Lap 141, Bubba Wallace hits pit road, as well as the 4 of Kevin Harvick, and that concludes our pit cycle here at Darlington Raceway in the Cookout Southern 500. And after the pit strategy concluded, the man on top was Kyle Larson in his very own number 57 car with an 8.7 second gap above the defending race winner in the Southern 500, Myatt Snyder. And you may be wondering to yourself, as the number 34 of Michael McDowell slams the outside wall right there, dropping another lap down. Well, you might be wondering to yourself, how does Larson get such an advantage like this? It's because they perfectly executed that short pit. They short pitted the majority of the field by at least 3 laps. And Larson kept that car clean over the course of that whole green flag run. So that meant that they did not have to pull out the right side fenders whatsoever. So they saved a lot of time by not having to service that 57 car for any type of damage repair. Perfect strategy by this 57 team, and has awarded them with almost a 9-second gap. Right there is the 57 of Larson. And now take a look farther back. Right there is the 43 of Myatt Snyder. It's that big of a gap. On lap 150, we have a bit of a strange accident. The damaged number 2 of Matt DiBenedetto comes down to turn number 3 and makes pretty severe contact with the outside wall. A sheer mistake right there, but it actually knocks him out of the race. Enough damage was accumulated on that number 2 car. Parts flying off of it actually brought out the caution flag on lap 150. Certainly not what Larson wanted to see with a 7.8 second gap. But now the number 2 team of Matt DiBenedetto brought this car behind the wall, ending their night. And the green flag came back out on lap 156. Larson obviously given a very clear advantage by having so many lap cars right up in front of him. Watch this mad scramble for track position farther back mainly from the 43 of Myatt Snyder, the second place runner. Right there gets moved up the racetrack by the lap car of Bilicki. And this allows Larson to completely check out. Right here on the inside of Snyder, you have Ankrum going for the second spot, as well as the 88 of Brad Keselowski, racing with his rival from earlier this season, Denny Hamlin. Down on the inside, almost a 3-wide move being made by Keselowski. Now going to try and make it stick into turn number 1. It's a very aggressive move. All the way down on the apron, 2 rows of 3-wide racing, and Brad Keselowski is now the second place runner. They still keep it clean. Very impressive so far. 88 car up to second. Looks like the one of Kurt Busch has a good chance of taking up third spot right here. But out front, it is the 57 of Kyle Larson checking out. More than a 4-second gap already. Lap 160, we have a bit of a strange moment right here with Brad Keselowski running in the middle of the racetrack, the second place runner, and the lap car of McDowell down his inside. Looks like McDowell almost tries to slow down to come down pit road, but aborts it and slides up in front of the 7 and 71 cars. Loses a lot of momentum with that mistake right there, but almost could have started an accident if there would have been more cars right around him. How about this on lap 161? Pole sitter Chase Elliott and a lap car now loosens up the 57 of Kyle Larson through 3 and 4 and manually unlaps himself coming onto the front straightaway. Great move by Elliott to get his lap back. Now he just needs a caution. And guess what? Chase Elliott was a lucky man. He got his caution flag, but quite a few drivers were severely unlucky. Right there coming off turn 2, Joey Logano and Chris Buescher lose a lot of momentum racing each other. 61 of Christopher Bell tries to take advantage of that, really sends that 61 car off into turn 3, clips the 17 hard up into the outside wall with a big impact for that Roush Fenway Racing Ford. 61 car goes for a spin, and now these cars are just sliding down the banking. Impacted by the 71 of Josh Bilicki, a playoff contender. The 23 of Bubba Wallace, another playoff contender. The 53 of Briscoe. 34 of McDowell, the C's part for him, as well as the 20 of Brandon Jones, but not so lucky for the 50 of Kaz Gralla. 55 of Chastain gets involved in this one as well. His bad luck continues. 21 of Cindric dives in, makes contact with the 53 of Briscoe, turns the 21 also up into the 18 of Kyle Busch. 41 of Cole Custer gets involved in this, as well as the 31 of Ty Dillon. A lot of damage as well on the 43 of Myatt Snyder. Tough break for a lot of good contenders here tonight at Darlington Raceway. And here's from the onboard of the number 61 of Christopher Bell. Season opening, tries to make the dive into turn 3, underestimates where the 17 car is going to be, makes severe contact with him, and then gets hit by the 71. Bounced off of everyone right here. Lots of damage on that 61 car, and plenty of cars taken out in this one on lap 164. And so following that big accident through turns 3 and 4, the 53 of Chase Briscoe, 43 of Myatt Snyder, 23 of Bubba Wallace, 17 of Chris Buescher, 71 of Josh Bilicki, 61 of Christopher Bell, and 41 of Cole Custer are all out of the race. A very large crash. But following that caution flag, there is now just 4 lap cars of Harvick, Half, Castle, and Eric Jones separating Kyle Larson from the second place runner of Brad Keselowski. Keselowski is incredibly hungry for a victory. Has nothing to lose. He's not running for a championship this season, could not close out a victory in the first 26 races, but he would love to claim his first career victory with Hendrick Motorsports. Only the second team he's ever driven for full-time in NASCAR's Cup Series, as the team he began his Cup Series career with back in 2008. On the restart, once again, Kyle Larson was easily able to get a big jump as he had 4 lap cars separating him from the second-place runner. But watch the 88 of Brad Keselowski methodically carve his way through the lap traffic, and you see Half goes side-by-side with Harvick. Eric Jones goes side-by-side with Landon Castle. That's the perfect opportunity for the 88 of Keselowski. Now he's able to pick off multiple lap cars in one move. Right there, he gets his way around. The 89 of Castle now has a run on the 4 of Harvick, makes the move work on the number 4 car, makes the move down to the inside of turn number 1, and gets around the 37 of Eric Jones. Now just one lap car separates him from the race leader. And it only took Keselowski just 2 more corners to make his way around the 40 of Quinn Half. Now, on lap 170, there is absolutely no buffer of lap traffic separating the 57 of Kyle Larson and the 88 of Brad Keselowski. 1.24 seconds the margin, and Larson really has to get up on the wheel now because this victory could lead to an automatic advancement into the round of 12. But Keselowski, like I said, has nothing to lose in going for this victory. Lap 170, the 9 car of Chase Elliott back on the lead lap, makes hard contact up into the outside wall, trying to race side by side with the 18. Also into the wall was the 26 of Ankrum, who carried the 00 up with him. Lap 172, the 4th place runner of Denny Hamlin makes a mistake through turns 3 and 4, which is not very common of Hamlin to make a mistake at Darlington, but overcooks the entry to turn 3. Hard contact up to the outside wall for that FedEx Camry. And by lap 174, Brad Keselowski has cut Kyle Larson's lead down to now less than 1 second. Lap 176, Kyle Larson makes a bit of a mistake coming off of turn number 2, gets his left sides right beneath the patch. That gets the car a little bit loose because the right side tires grip better than the lefts, and it wants to slightly spin the car around. 57 of Larson lost about 0.4 of a second with that move. And that mistake absolutely opened up the door for the 88 of Brad Keselowski. Now closing the gap to about 0.3 of a second, coming down into turns 3 and 4. Keselowski makes the move on the inside of the racetrack as Larson drifts up the hill. Now side by side down to the start-finish line. Larson leads at the line, the lap car of Cindric right up in front of the race leaders. And Brad Keselowski uses Austin Cindric as a pick against the 57 of Larson. Keselowski out front. With just a few laps to go here at Darlington, we have a battle for the ages set up, much like what we had back in 2003 with Craven and Kurt Busch. Larson versus Keselowski. Here comes Larson back down to the bottom. Coming off turn 4, though, the 88 car clears him and cuts his line off. Through turns 3 and 4, the 88 of Keselowski gets extremely close to making contact with the outside wall. Loses about another 1/10 of a second to the 57 of Larson. With now just 5 laps to go, the separation is less than 2/10 between Larson trying to make the round of 12 and Keselowski going for his first win in 26 races. Also, as a quick interruption to the battle out front, you see the number 6 of Ryan Newman now running in 4th position with a great run there. But look at this stack up that the 40 of Half getting up into the outside wall and the slow car of Cindric makes. A 4-wide move being made farther back right there by Newman, Bowman, and Brandon Jones. They also get checked up by the 21 right there. Harvick makes another 4-wide move. Ryan Newman keeps his foot in it and clears all of these cars coming down into turn number 1. Newman's still holding on to 4th position above the 20. And Keselowski had just barely started to gap the 57 of Larson, but with 2 laps to go, he enters turn 1 a little bit too low, allowing the 57 of Larson to keep the momentum. 88 of Keselowski gets slowed up, but he actually manages to slow down the 57 car's pace as well. They go side by side into turn number 3. Larson on the outside, Keselowski on the bottom. Larson tries to send it in. He uses all of the available racing surface, almost gets up into the outside wall, and now drops back. White flag is in the air here at Darlington. 88 of Keselowski once again going to try a low entry into turn number 1. It did not work last time. Larson keeping the momentum up on the top. Keselowski pushes off of turn 2. The 57 is going to be able to gain a little bit of time. He makes a look down to the bottom. Potentially side by side through 3 and 4. Larson backs off, and Keselowski's got it. Brad Keselowski onto the front straightaway, takes home his first career NASCAR Cup Series victory for Hendrick Motorsports in the Cookout Southern 500. How about that? This 88 team is back in victory lane. Cliff Daniels, the crew chief, scores the victory with Brad Keselowski as their driver. Keselowski now breaks a tie that he had with Kurt Busch in career victories on the all-time wins list. And he robs Kyle Larson of an automatic advancement into the round of 12. What an incredible battle in these final 15 laps between two of our sport's best drivers. Keselowski outduels the 57 of Kyle Larson in a man-to-man battle here at Darlington. And so Brad Keselowski has done it. First win of the season. Unfortunately did not make the playoffs, but still grabbed himself a victory in a crown jewel race, the Darlington Southern 500. A remarkable battle between Keselowski and Larson in those final 15 or so laps. Brad only led 7 laps here today, but he still took home the victory in one of our sport's greatest events. And Kyle Larson, a bridesmaid once again. A very good points night, but he certainly would have preferred a victory, as it would have given him an automatic advancement into the next round of the playoffs. He led 40 laps here tonight, but it just wasn't meant to be. Kurt Busch brings the number 1 car home in 3rd position. Brandon Jones in 4th. Ryan Newman, from starting 38th position, finishes in 5th for Roush Fenway Racing. A good run there for Newman. Tyler Ankrum brought the 26 car home in 6th position. Denny Hamlin in 7th. Daniel Suarez in 8th spot. How about this? Chase Elliott, who had to manually unlap himself within the final 20 laps of the race. He drove his way all the way up to 9th position. That's a very good points night for that number 9 team. And finally, rounding out your top 10 is the number 19 team of Martin Truex Jr. They picked up 1 spot from where they started. Also, a bit of a tough break for Ross Chastain, getting involved in that accident late in the race. Led the most laps here tonight with 51 laps led. Won stage number 1, almost won stage 2, but brings home a 12th place finish. A very decent finish, but they certainly know that they could have done more with what they had here tonight. And here are your playoff standings following the Cookout Southern 500. Daniel Suarez currently holds the biggest advantage above the cutoff line, 36 points above the cut. That's a fairly safe margin. Brandon Jones now second, 28 points above, as well as his teammate Denny Hamlin. Chase Elliott finishing in 9th position, pretty much saved his points position as he still sets 27 points above the cutoff line. Larson now 26 points above with his 2nd place finish. Joey Logano still winless on the year, but he is 21 points above the cutoff line. Martin Truex Jr., 19 points above the cutoff line, matching his car number. Kaz Gralla in the number 50 for Richard Childress Racing sets 16 points above the cutoff line. Then Kevin Harvick 13 points above, a little bit uncomfortable there. Kyle Busch just 10 points above. Alex Bowman 6 points above the cutoff line. And Chase Briscoe just 2 points above the cut line. Now beneath the line, we have Michael McDowell setting 2 points out. Josh Bilicki setting 9 points out. Matt DiBenedetto 11 points out, as well as Justin Allgaier setting 11 points on the outside looking in. Both DiBenedetto and Allgaier suffered DNFs here at Darlington Raceway, and Bilicki and McDowell definitely did not get the runs that they wanted, and those two do not have very many playoff points to work with. Not like how a driver such as Joey Logano won the regular season championship. Even knowing that he does not have a race win this season, he has enough playoff points that it's like he took home 3 victories. Drivers such as McDowell and Bilicki, they only have 1 win on the season. That's a 5-point advantage. Not too much to rely on, and that is the major reason why they are currently setting below the cut line. And just for the fun of it, here is the points battle among those who are not running for a championship. You can see down in 17th position, Clint Boyer still holds the best of the rest spot. Eric Jones sets 18th in points. Brad Keselowski, the winner here tonight at Darlington, still sets 19th overall in points. And Kurt Busch, with another good finish, picks up 2 spots in point standings, now to 20th. And so after a phenomenal conclusion to the Cookout Southern 500 to kick off the playoffs, the 2021 NASCAR Cup Series season, we now move on to race number 2 of the round of 16, the North Carolina Education Lottery 500 from Rockingham Speedway. In the race analysis, the North Carolina Education Lottery 500 from Rockingham Speedway will take place over the course of 250 laps around this 1-mile circuit. Stage number 1 ends on lap 62, and stage 2 come to its conclusion on lap 124. And this racetrack is very abrasive, so much like what we saw at Darlington, tire strategy is going to be very critical. Maintaining the right front tire is typically your biggest challenge at this facility. And like we talked about at Darlington, this racetrack requires a driver with a lot of experience, so veteran competitors will likely be front runners in today's North Carolina Education Lottery 500. You know, this racetrack is very, very raceable. Darlington Raceway has about 2 usable racing lines, but here at Rockingham, there's arguably 4 or 5 racing lines that you can run in the center of the corners. Straightaways are a little bit narrow, but then it widens out in the center of the corners, allowing these competitors to run many, many different lanes. This is very much a multi-groove racetrack. Watch these race cars fill every inch of the asphalt over the course of these 250 laps. We also have a returning veteran making what will be his definitive final career NASCAR Cup Series start, that being Rick Mast in the number 52 car for Raceway Racing. He tried to make this race last season, did not make it in qualifying this season. He has made the show. Rick Mast, who obviously retired back in 2003 due to carbon monoxide poisoning, he now finally gets the chance to call his career the way that he wanted and on his own terms at what is one of his favorite racetracks. And just to serve as another reminder, these are the playoffs, and that means win and you're in. All 16 of these playoff contenders would love to take home the victory here in the North Carolina Education Lottery 500 and lock their way into where they do not have to worry about Bristol for an advancement. So that puts a lot of emphasis on being the first one to the checkered flag here tonight, so you do not need to worry about Thunder Valley. NASCAR also conducted multi-car next-gen testing at Rockingham Speedway with 6 drivers, including Drew Herring in the number 96, Cole Custer in the 41, Brad Keselowski driving the number 88 machine, 61 of Christopher Bell, 1 of Kurt Busch, and 17 of Chris Buescher, that being 2 cars per manufacturer. And once again, much like the feedback that we received at Darlington Raceway, all 6 drivers were very impressed with how much mechanical grip this thing has. It's a good combo of mechanical grip while also a reduction of downforce as the 96 actually gets up into the outside wall. Drew Herring makes significant contact with the wall right there, but these things have composite bodies. So look at the right side on the number 96 machine as it goes by. That's not very much damage on the 96 car at all, is it? Composite bodies right there, people. That's our first test in the field, with the exception of the 20 of Brandon Jones, who actually hit the wall at the New Hampshire test. But as you can tell, that thing is not very much damaged whatsoever. And that allowed the 41 of Cole Custer to slip by. On the inside, we have the 61 of Christopher Bell getting around the 96 as well. So this thing's very raceable with the reduction of downforce. Like I've mentioned previously, it's also a reduction of an aerodynamic footprint. So that means it's a lot easier to pass at a racetrack such as Rockingham. You can really close up to the back bumper, try to get another car loose up in front of you, and make that move happen. Unlike what we have with the current Generation 6 car, in a lot of cases, where the amount of downforce that thing has dirties up the air coming off of it so badly that it actually produces lift on the front end of the car running behind it, makes it very, very difficult to pass. This thing makes up for aerodynamic grip with mechanical grip, which is NASCAR's compromise to try and lead to more passing. You saw right there the 61 made its way around the 88 of Keselowski. All 6 drivers were satisfied with what they experienced, and I'd say from a fan perspective, I'm happy with it too, because I've seen a lot of passing already. There goes the 61 getting around the 41 of Cole Custer, and the 96 of Drew Herring has suffered no tire issues from that contact. In the starting lineup, Daniel Suarez, the only one to qualify with a lap time sub 25 seconds. He starts from the pole position here at Rockingham Speedway. Ryan Blaney qualifies in second with a 25 flat. His teammate Joey Logano, the playoff contender, qualified in third position. Brad Keselowski, who won the most recent race at Darlington Raceway, qualifies in fourth position. Larson in fifth, who just barely lost out to Keselowski at Darlington. Justin Allgaier in sixth position, trying to rebound from his tough finish in the Southern 500. Same situation for Matt DiBenedetto, who qualified the 2-car in seventh. Jan Magnussen will start from eighth position. His rival Kurt Busch starting in ninth. And how about this? Rick Mast qualifies a Roush-built number 52 for Raceway Racing in 10th position, qualifying for his final career start, one of Raceway Racing's best starts of the season. A very impressive qualifying performance for Rick Mast. Other notable starters include Kevin Harvick starting from the 11th position, Tyler Ankrum starting in 12th. He's been signed to Hendrick Motorsports for next season. Clint Boyer starting from 13th spot. The 20 of Brandon Jones in 16th. The 24 of William Byron made the show this weekend, starting in 18th position. The 48 of Alex Bowman starts from 21st. The 11 of Hamlin will start from 24th position. The 34 of Michael McDowell rolls off 26th. The 71 of Josh Blicky from 27th. The 99 of Ryan Preece will start in 29th position. The 96 of Drew Herring will start from 30th. The 18 of Kyle Busch starts all the way down in 31st position. The 77 of Justin Haley down in 33rd. The 47 Ricky Stenhouse Jr. qualified all the way down in 36th position. The 53 of Chase Briscoe starts way down in 37th, as well as Martin Truex Jr. getting a 38th place starting position. Kaz Gralla will roll off in 40th. Chase Elliott will start from 41st spot, and the 89 of Landon Castle rounds out the field in 42nd. And the full list of drivers who did not make the North Carolina Education Lottery 200 include the 17 of Chris Buescher, fails to make the show in his Roush Fenway Racing Ford. 38 of Anthony Alfredo also missed the field once again. 51 of Cody Ware, 66 of Timmy Hill, and the 78 of BJ McLeod all failed to make the field. And at the drop of the green flag, the 00 of Daniel Suarez was the one who got the jump. He did not hold the lead for very long. Watch this move by Logano into the first two corners. Makes a 3-wide pass on Suarez and his teammate Ryan Blaney, and takes away the race lead off the 00 car down the back straightaway. His teammate Matt DiBenedetto takes up second, coming into turn number 3. But through turns 3 and 4, the two-car hooked the very yellow line on the inside of the racetrack, almost edged out his teammate Logano at the stripe. And through one more set of corners, Matt DiBenedetto found himself as the race leader. Clint Boyer, with an aggressive 3-wide move on the inside of the track, takes up second. On lap 2, watch this move by Tyler Ankrum through turns 3 and 4. Actually makes a 4-wide pass on Magnussen, Allgaier, and Keselowski, as Brad Keselowski almost hit up into the outside wall and was also almost hit by the 42 of Allgaier, but Ankrum passes actually about 5 or 6 cars through turns 3 and 4 alone. And Clint Boyer got a very good run off the top side of the racetrack, made the crossover on the 2-car, and took away the race lead through turns 1 and 2 on lap number 3. Larson now challenging the 2-car for second. Lap number 4, Kyle Larson has the run on the 14 of Boyer, gets some very good momentum on the bottom side of the racetrack, and the 57 of Kyle Larson is now out front here at Rockingham. And by lap number 6, you can tell Joe Gibbs Racing is still continuing to struggle in this first round of the playoffs. The 19 of Truex and the 20 of Brandon Jones currently compose second and second to last. Right there, Brandon Jones passes Bubba Wallace for second to last, but still, Bubba's driving a Gibbs car as well. So not a very good showing for this organization so far. And on that very same lap, the 53 of Chase Briscoe made an extremely aggressive move, passing 2 Hendrick cars and his teammate Ian Magnussen. Right there you can see coming off of turn number 4, he almost makes contact with Keselowski. Very difficult to make 4-wide work here on the front straightaway, but he makes it stick and passes those 3 cars through turns 1 and 2. And also by lap number 7, Rick Mast has fallen from his 10th place starting position, now down to 39th position. However, his goal for this race, he said coming in, was just to finish the race. He wants to finish his career on his own terms. He really is not too concerned about what position that may be in. By lap number 11, the top 4 drivers in the field, Larson, Suarez, Harvick, and DiBenedetto, are all running for a championship. Currently, the cream rising to the top. But watch out for that number 1 car. Kurt Busch has nothing to lose and going for a victory to close out his season. Lap 13, the 2020 Southern 500 winner, Myatt Snider, makes a 3-wide move on DiBenedetto and Daniel Suarez and actually takes up the second position. This aggressive racing for second has allowed Kyle Larson to gap the field now by about 1 second. Larson has some history here. In fact, he won the Camping World Truck Series race at this facility and clinched a ARCA Menards East Series title here. Lap 15, Kyle Busch has now driven his way up to 14th position from a 31st place starting position. And we had a lot of action for the lead on lap number 16. Myatt Snider running down the 57 of Larson. Snider moves up to the top of the track. Larson goes up to block. All of them push coming off the corner. 43 car catches the outside wall, and Clint Boyer takes advantage of this mistake, going from 4th to 1st down in turn number 1. Larson now forced up the racetrack by the 26 of Ankrum. Ankrum takes over second. On lap 22, Alex Bowman drives his way around both Tyler Ankrum and Kyle Larson, breaking his way up into the top 5 from a 21st place starting spot. Lap 27, the 3-car of Austin Dillon tries just a little bit too high of a line, pushes off of turn 2 and catches the outside wall, allowing Ryan Newman down on the inside to take over 10th position. By lap 29, the top 2 playoff contenders are the 2 regular season championship battlers of Logano and Kevin Harvick. Logano now running second, Harvick in third, with Harvick's teammate Clint Boyer currently gapping the field by 1.1 seconds. And by lap 30, Rick Mast has actually driven his way back up into the top 20. Right there makes the move on the inside of the 55 car to take over the 20th spot. Lap 34, the battle for the lead gets physical as the 14 of Clint Boyer gets a little bit loose off turn 2, allows the 22 of Logano to close the gap. He gets right up on the left rear quarter panel, makes contact coming off of turn number 4. Those two drag race down to the start-finish line. Boyer still holds the advantage, but through turns 1 and 2, Joe Logano takes away the race lead, still searching for his first win of the 2021 season. 22 car out front. By lap 38, the top Joe Gibbs racing car is the 20 of Brandon Jones, now running in 19th position, running actually alongside teammates Hamlin and Martin Truex Jr. So you can tell they're all running equally, with the exception of Kyle Busch, who's a little bit farther behind. Neither of them are running very well right now. Lap 40, we have a very large crash through turns 3 and 4. Once again involving the 34 of Michael McDowell. He's been the first one to crash the last 2 weeks. You see coming down to turn number 3, the 47 makes contact with the right rear quarter panel. The 34 of McDowell tries to turn him around, but actually these two hook and turn up the racetrack into the 96 of Drew Herring, carrying all three up into the outside wall. And these steep banks at Rockingham are self-cleaning, much like what we see at Dover. So now they're just in a free fall back down the racetrack. 71 of Blicky involved, 18 of Kyle Busch, 2 playoff contenders. And watch, the difference in the banking actually turns over. The 71 of Josh Bilicki. Here comes the 14 of Cole Custer, 95 of Harrison Burton, and 23 of Bubba Wallace now driving into this. The 21 of Cindric got a lot of damage out of this accident. Then the 95 could not slow down in time, made contact with the 41 of Cole Custer. Surprisingly, Bubba Wallace actually made it through that unscathed. And so here's what it looked like in real time. 47-34 cars racing each other hard. Stenhouse miscalculates his entry as the 34 slows up a little bit more than he expected. Hard up into the outside wall, then slammed by the 71. Bilicki goes for a tumble, and the rest of the field just cannot check up in time, with the exception of Bubba Wallace. And much like what we saw at Darlington, we have a 2-lap pit strategy split. Lap 41, Logano, Larson, Maya Snyder, Kevin Harvick, and many others come down pit road, essentially splitting the field in half. Boyer, DiBenedetto, Suarez on backup to stay out. However, they will be pitting the second time around. The only reason that you see these strategy splits is these cars coming in the second time, which is actually the entire rest of the field that opted to stay out. They come in the second time around because they're trying to get closer to a fuel number. And so the full list of drivers out of the race following that big accident through turns 3 and 4 include the 47 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 71 of Josh Bilicki, and 21 of Austin Cindric. So this crash pretty much puts the 71 of Bilicki into a must-win scenario at Bristol. Very tough situation for that team to be in. And so now your new top 3 runners after the pit cycle have Joe Logano out front, the 57 of Larson running second, and the 43 of Myatt Snyder in third spot. Green flag comes back out on lap number 44. And watch the number 4 car of Kevin Harvick on this restart. Dives down to the inside, the 43 of Myatt Snyder, picks up the throttle early. Now already side by side with the 57 of Kyle Larson down the back straightaway, now going for second. Makes the move on the bottom of the racetrack. Logano slides up the hill. And now the 4 car takes away the race lead down the front straightaway. Harvick from 4th to 1st in 1 lap. Lap 47, the top 3 contenders are now the regular season championship contenders from earlier, culminating obviously at Daytona and the Coke Zero Sugar 400. Harvick, Hamlin, and Logano compose the top 3 at the moment. Lap 49, how about this? The 77 of Justin Haley is now running in 5th position. A great run for this organization. Lap 52, we get our second crash of the day. Harrison Burton runs it a little bit too wide coming off of turn number 4, up into the marbles, trying to catch the 95 car, but he still gets up into the outside wall. Ricochets down into the 3 of Austin Dillon. Now, he wouldn't have wrecked if the 3 car would not have been on his inside, but makes contact with the outside wall, then ricochets back down the track, gets caught by the 96 of Drew Herring. Right there, the 40 of Quinn Halfga has to go for evasive action, makes a little bit of contact right there. Another Chip Ganassi racing car into this mess. The 1 of Kurt Busch makes contact with the 95. 99 of Ryan Preece gets a little bit of damage up into the outside wall. Then the 96 is still sliding back down in front of the 1 of Kurt Busch. And this brings out the caution flag on lap number 52. And the green flag comes back out on lap number 57. The 57 car of Kyle Larson tries the exact same move that Harvick put on the field on the last restart. Right there you see Hamlin gets down to the inside of the 4 of Harvick. Those two now battling for the race lead. Larson sees an opening on the bottom to take second off Ross Chastain. He rolls great momentum on the inside of the racetrack, takes up second, and now challenges the 11 on the front straightaway. Hamlin holds the top spot for the moment, but Larson takes it away through turns 1 and 2. Just a few laps to go in stage number 1. Larson trying to take home that stage victory. Lap 60, the 48 of Alex Bowman makes his move to the inside of the 43 of Myatt Snider and takes up the second position. And as you can tell farther back, the 42 of Justin Allgaier getting a very good run. That Chip Ganassi Racing Chevrolet trying to rebound from his tough finish at Darlington. And on lap 62, Larson holds a 7/10 of a second gap above the second place runner of Alex Bowman. Pretty much running unopposed at the moment, got a perfect restart. And he's using that gap to his advantage now through turns 3 and 4. And onto the front straightaway, Kyle Larson will take home the stage number 1 victory here at Rockingham Speedway. Larson takes home stage number 1 in his very own number 57 car. Alex Bowman finishes in second spot, the 11 of Hamlin in third, 22 Logano in fourth, and the 43 of Myatt Snider rounding out your top 5. And the green flag waves for stage number 2 on lap 67. The 11 car of Denny Hamlin got an almost perfect restart, making the move down to the inside of 48 of Alex Bowman. Very close to the left side of the 48 car, trying to drag him back. Logano trying to follow suit as well down on the inside. 11 car takes up second. Rolls great momentum through 3 and 4 though, as the 57 car slides up the hill. And the 11 of Denny Hamlin takes away the race lead at the start-finish line. And we have a big crash on lap number 70. Coming through turns 3 and 4, the 50 of Kaz Gralla, the playoff contender, tries to make the move down to the inside of Rick Mast. He throttles up very early, tries to get some good momentum off the top side, but clips the 52 of Mast, sending him up into the outside wall. Gralla and Keselowski save it. The 96 and 10 cars of Herring and Almirola have absolutely nowhere to go, and the 1 of Kurt Busch gets clipped right there by the 96 of Drew Herring and heads up with a hard hit up into the outside wall. 4 cars crash through turns 3 and 4. Also racing back to the caution flag, the number 24 of William Byron's actually taken up the 4th position. And following that big accident, the 96 of Herring, 1 of Kurt Busch, and 10 of Eric Almirola are out of the race. However, the 52 of Rick Mast is still running. Lap 71, we have quite a few cars come down pit road, including Ryan Blaney, Cole Custer, and Tyler Reddick, along with many others, such as playoff contender Kaz Gralla and the rest of the damaged cars from that Turn 4 accident. Next time around, the 48 of Alex Bowman hits pit road as well for a 4-tire stop. And we saw in the Camping World Truck Series race how critical tires were. Timothy Peters won that race on a set of 4 fresh sticker tires. So it makes you wonder if they're trying this strategy early just to see if fresh rubber does help as much as it helped in the Truck Series race. Lap 73, Truex, Elliott, and Justin Haley hit the pits as well. The green flag flies once again on lap number 75. Joey Logano restarts in 5th position, but watch these moves he makes through turns 1 and 2. Gets around the 57, makes a 3-wide move underneath Byron and Snider. And already down the back straightaway, he's up into 2nd spot. Ryan Newman followed suit down on the inside, taking up the 3rd position. But coming onto the front straightaway, he makes a 3-wide move on Logano and Byron and actually moves his way in the 2nd. Newman, now your 2nd place runner for Roush Fenway Racing, one of the few drivers in the field who has prior experience here in a NASCAR Cup Series car before the series left after 2004. Lap 77, Ryan Newman makes the move to the inside, the 11 of Denny Hamlin, and takes away the top spot down the back stretch. And on lap 80, the pole sitter, Daniel Suarez, is hounding that number 6 of Ryan Newman for the top spot. Newman moves up the racetrack, 00 gets a good run, and Suarez takes away the race lead once again at the end of lap number 80. Kyle Larson takes up the second spot. Lap 81, Kyle Larson gets a great run through turns 3 and 4 on the 00 of Daniel Suarez and takes away the race lead down the front straightaway. 57 car back out front. Very short-lived lead for that 00. Lap 82, we have a very strange accident. 89 of Landon Castle drifts up the racetrack, makes contact with the outside wall, comes back down the track, makes contact with the 41 and the 48 of Custer and Bowman, and now these three cars are practically connected down the back straightaway, almost running down into the inside wall. Then Bowman turns back to the right, forcing all these three cars up the racetrack. They clip the 9 of Elliott, turn the 18 of Kyle Busch up into the outside wall. The 48 of Bowman gets separated from these two, but Custer and Castle still forcing each other up into the outside wall. Finally, right there, those two make contact with the wall and get turned around. 88 of Keselowski has nowhere to go, slams right into this. Watch the 26 of Ankrum down on the inside, just barely drives by it. 18 of Kyle Busch gets some more damage out of this as well. A big crash through turns 3 and 4 once again. And here's a look at this accident in real time. 89 up into the wall, and now these three are just connected down the back straightaway. It took these three drivers about a half a mile to actually crash. There's the 18 getting up into the wall, 41 and 89 squeezing into the wall, and then the 88 has nowhere to go and slams into this mess. Then racing back to the caution flag, the 42 of Justin Allgaier got a great run on the 57 of Larson through turns 3 and 4, and Allgaier takes away the top spot back to the yellow flag. Then we had a bit of a strange accident under the caution flag. Watch the 42 of Justin Allgaier coming off of turn 2. He kind of abruptly starts slowing up. Well, the 57 of Larson starts doing the same since they're running in the same line. 6 of Newman didn't quite get the memo as early and makes contact actually with the left rear quarter panel of the 57 of Larson, turning the 57 down and into the inside wall, setting the second place runner for a spin under the caution flag. Not too much damage on the 57, but Larson was not happy following this accident. And following that big mess coming down to turn number 3, the only car out of the race is our most recent race winner of Brad Keselowski. Lap 84, the 6 of Newman, 00 of Suarez, 55 of Ross Chastain, 33 of Jan Magnussen, and many others come down pit road. And make note of the fact that since the 6 of Newman ducked on the pit road, the 57 of Larson actually could not drive up to him to voice his displeasure. But now your front runners are Allgaier, Larson, and Preece, and the rest of the field that opted to stay out behind them. And we also had trouble for a playoff contender coming onto pit road. The 4 of Kevin Harvick slows up very abruptly because he believes he might be speeding. 2 of Matt DiBenedetto could not get slowed down in time, and now a lot of front-end damage on the 2 of Matt DiBenedetto. A little bit of rear-end damage on the 4 car, but that's not nearly going to affect him as badly as that front-end damage will affect the 2 car. And we actually had 3 drivers come down pit road on lap 86, those being the 57 of Larson, the 11 of Hamlin, and the 14 of Clint Bowyer. And so now your new top 3 has the 42 of Justin Allgaier out front, 99 of Preece getting a great run in second position, and the 40 of Quinn Houff running in third spot. Chip Ganassi Racing holds 2 of the top 3 positions. Lap 87, the green flag came out once again. It was a fairly calm restart up towards the front, but watch the 23 of Bubba Wallace. Restarting in 6th position, makes the move to the inside of playoff contender Casbrella, and gets around the 20 of Brandon Jones just through turns 1 and 2 alone. And on lap 89, Wallace continuing his march towards the front, makes his move around the 40 of Quinn Houff and actually takes up second, now with his sights set on the 42 of Justin Allgaier. What an incredible performance tonight for 2311 Racing. Lap number 90, the 42 of Justin Allgaier moves up the racetrack just a little bit, allows Bubba Wallace to get the run coming off of turn number 2. Those two run side by side down the back straightaway, and through turns 3 and 4, the 23 of Bubba Wallace is now out front here at Rockingham Speedway. They got Booty Barker calling the shots on this 23 team. It's entirely possible that they have just now found the combination that they need to find some speed out of this 2311 Racing team. Chase Elliott now to second spot and pressuring the 23. Lap number 92, Chase Elliott still hounding the 23 of Bubba Wallace. Gets him a little bit arrow loose through 3 and 4. 23 slides up the racetrack, and Chase Elliott drives by on the front straightaway to take away the top spot. By lap 95, the top 3 contenders are once again playoff drivers: Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, and Kevin Harvick, running first through third. Lap 96, Logano makes the move through turns 1 and 2 on the 9 of Chase Elliott and takes away the top spot. Lap 96, Bubba Wallace overdrives turns 3 and 4 just a little bit and makes pretty good contact with the outside wall from center off. Loses about 3 spots in that mistake. Lap 102, the 22 car of Joey Logano slides up the racetrack. The 24 of William Byron picks up the throttle a lot earlier through the center of the corner, and Byron is now your race leader. What a recovery from a DNQ last week, now leading the field here at Rockingham. Lap 104, the top 5 cars all running under a blanket. The 4 of Kevin Harvick rolls great momentum on the very bottom of the racetrack, takes away the top spot off the 24 of William Byron coming down into turn number 1. Suarez now up into second, and Ryan Newman taking over 4th position. But Kevin Harvick's lead was incredibly short-lived. The 00 made the move through turns 3 and 4, and the pole sitter finds himself back out front with a hard-charging number 6 of Ryan Newman. Through turns 1 and 2, the non-playoff contending number 6 of Newman is back out front, getting an incredible run out of that Roush Fenway Racing number 6 Ford Mustang. Watch out for the 57 of Larson. He's made his way back up to 11th. A little bit of contact between the 4 and 00. Harvick moves Suarez up the hill. And remember, Harvick won here last season, advancing into the round of 12, trying to do the exact same here tonight. And on lap 108, a bit of an old rivalry surfaces once again. 18 and 14 of Kyle Busch and Clint Boyer make contact coming off of turn number 4. And Kyle Busch has to do a very good job at correcting the slide on that 18 car to save it coming off of the 4th turn. Lap 110, William Byron makes the move down to the inside of the 6 of Ryan Newman, taking away the top spot once again. Byron trying to take home still what would be his first career Cup Series victory. Lap 110, the number 50 of Kaz Grella runs all the way down in 31st position. One of the worst playoff drivers in the field so far. Lap 113, Ryan Newman makes a very impressive move coming off of turn number 4. Actually door slams the 00, sending him out of line, and Newman back to second as William Byron puts Rick Mast 1 lap down. And after being lapped coming off turn 2, the 52 car makes contact with the outside wall and actually checks up the 00 of Daniel Suarez, who is running in 3rd position. Lap 114, Ryan Newman makes his move back to the inside of the 24 of William Byron, taking away the top spot through turns 1 and 2. Lap 118, the 24 of William Byron rolls great momentum through turns 3 and 4, gets up side by side with the 6 of Ryan Newman, and takes away the top spot coming back to the start-finish line. On lap 120, Justin Haley makes some pretty serious contact into the outside wall through turns 3 and 4, and that actually cuts down his right front tire. He has to pit for a flat tire and actually loses 2 laps in the process. I mean, really, as if this team's luck couldn't get any worse. They had a car capable of a top 5 finish here tonight, but now they're going to at least be 2 laps down. Also, keep your eyes now on the 57 of Kyle Larson. He's made his way back up into 5th position and has a bone to pick with the 4th place runner of Ryan Newman. Lap 122, 00 of Suarez. The pole sitter pressures the 24 of William Byron coming off turn 4. They go side by side down to the start-finish line. And through turns 1 and 2, 00 of Daniel Suarez is now your race leader. Harvick now pressuring him from second. But watch this, through turns 3 and 4, the moment Harvick gets back onto the throttle, the engine lets go on the number 4 machine. Kevin Harvick will record a DNF here at Rockingham Speedway. Had an incredible car and won here last season, but the caution flag comes out and this will end. Stage number 2 as Harvick DNFs. And what a tough break for Kevin Harvick. Had a great race car here tonight, but that's the perfect break for the 00 of Daniel Suarez. Now running through turns 3 and 4 and onto the front straightaway. Your pole sitter, Daniel Suarez, will take home the stage number 2 victory. Suarez wins stage number 2. 24 Byron in second, 6 of Newman in third, 22 of Joey Logano brought it home in 4th position, and the 57 of Kyle Larson rounds out your top 5. And following the conclusion of stage number 2, every single lead lap car hits pit road on lap 125. And so the first car off pit road was Suarez, getting out in front of Byron and Logano, but I said earlier that the 57 of Kyle Larson still had a bone to pick with the 6 of Ryan Newman. Well, guess what? They had found each other on lap 126 coming off pit road. Watch this move that Kyle Larson tries on the 6 of Ryan Newman. Makes contact with the 6 as Newman comes up just a little bit and turns him up into the outside wall with a big hit for the 6 of Newman, but actually even worse damage on the 57 of Larson. A lot of front-end damage on the 57. Now, NASCAR likely would have parked him regardless, but the damage on the 57 of Larson was significant enough that they were not capable of even getting that car back out onto the racetrack. Kyle Larson essentially ends his chance of winning here at Rockingham himself. Spins the 6 of Newman up into the outside wall, but effectively ends his night. Ryan Newman, however, was capable of continuing. They brought that number 6 car back down pit road, serviced it, and got him out on the racetrack. Here's another look at the contact between the 57 and 6. Larson drives up to the outside of the 6 of Newman, and they just hook. 57 takes the 6 up into the outside wall, and Larson was out of the race following this move. Now, NASCAR did not suspend him for the next race at Bristol, and that's for one reason only. The 6 of Ryan Newman was capable of continuing. If he would have wrecked the 6 of Newman completely out of the race, well, that would have been a different story. Then Larson likely would have had to serve at least a one-race suspension. However, he did get a $20,000 fine out of this move that he pulled on Ryan Newman. Larson was as well informed that if any further actions go on between him and Newman, a suspension likely will occur. So with him now being in a bad position in point standings coming into the final race of this round, Larson likely will not want to even think about running into the 6 of Newman because it will effectively end his chances even farther of competing for a championship. And the 6 of Newman was back out onto the racetrack with some relatively decent damage, but it still looks like the 6 car will be rather competitive here at Rockingham. Fortunately, this is not too much of an aero-dependent racetrack. A little bit aero matters because it is somewhat high speed, but it's not like if we were at a track like Atlanta. And even then, Kyle Busch had won the championship in Atlanta last season with a car that had already wrecked 3 times, so I don't think aerodynamics is too much of Newman's concern here. As long as the toe didn't get knocked in or anything like that, he should be fine. And actually, they hit mainly with the front end of the car. That car should still drive relatively decently. On the other hand, though, Larson's car was killed. And so following that mess of a caution flag period, obviously the 57 of Kyle Larson is out of the race. Following that move, he pulled on Ryan Newman under caution, and the 4 of Kevin Harvick obviously is as well out of this one following his engine failure. And so your top 3 for this restart are Daniel Suarez, William Byron, and Joe Logano. The 77 of Justin Haley did not pit on this cycle of stops. He has now scored just 1 lap behind race leader Daniel Suarez. And the green flag flew for the final stage on lap 128. See farther back, the 48 of Alex Bowman jumps up to the outside, and the 77 of Justin Haley actually got a fairly good jump on the restart. So having a lap car up in front of Suarez definitely did not hurt him on this particular restart. Made the move to the inside of the 77 through turns 3 and 4, putting him back 2 laps down and continuing to hold the top spot. And by lap 30, the 11 of Denny Hamlin, he actually restarted down in 10th position, and he's driven his way already up to 5th position. Lap 131, the 24 William Byron makes a great move on the 00 of Daniel Suarez and takes away the top spot coming off of turn number 2. Lap 133, the 55 of Ross Chastain actually makes the move to the inside of the 22 of Joe Logano and takes up 2nd, as the 24 of William Byron has started to gap the field by about half a second. Lap 137, Joe Logano is mounting an impressive charge up through the field, and through turns 3 and 4 pressures the 24 Byron up the racetrack, and Joe Logano takes away the top spot on the front straightaway. Lap 140, watch this great run. The 55 of Chastain gets off the high side, gets right up side by side with the 22 of Logano, side drives him down the front straightaway, and as you can see farther back, the 48 of Bowman has now taken up 3rd, but through turns 1 and 2, Chastain now back out front. But Chastain's lead was very much short-lived, as on lap 142, Alex Bowman makes a great move to the inside of the 55 car, goes side by side with him down the back straightaway, and makes the move stick through 3 and 4. 48 car, the Allied Chevrolet of Bowman, now out front at Rockingham. Towards the back of the field, we have another Hendrick car. The 9 of Chase Elliott runs all the way down to the 31st position. This team has absolutely lost the handle on the racetrack as we get farther into the night. Lap 147, Daniel Suarez holds great momentum on the inside of the racetrack off of turn number 4 and makes the move on the 48 of Alex Bowman, coming down into turns 1 and 2. Pole sitter Suarez back out front. Lap 147, coming down to turn number 3, the 77 of Justin Haley actually makes contact with the right rear of the 41 of Cole Custer. Almost got his left front tire cut down by the damaged back bumper, well, actually lack thereof, on the 41. And on lap 150, Daniel Suarez has put the 52 of Rick Mast down yet another lap, and the 22 of Joey Logano tries to jump up to the very, very top of the racetrack to try and get his way around the 52. Maybe oversteps it just a little bit and barely clips the outside wall, but got very close to Larson lining right there. On lap 151, the 48 of Alex Bowman makes the move to the inside of the 00 of Daniel Suarez and takes away the top spot down the front straightaway. Lap 153, Clint Boyer makes the move to the inside of the 00, taking up second position. Also a shout out to the number 8 team of Tyler Reddick. They currently run in 7th. They have definitely not had the season that they've wanted this season, but now it's starting to show at least some speed. Once again, lap 158, 00 holds great momentum on the bottom side of the racetrack, gets up side by side with the 48 of Bowman, coming down into turns 1 and 2. And Daniel Suarez takes away the top spot. And watch this, on lap 162, Clint Boyer finds grip on an area that I didn't even think could make the corner on. Right on that yellow line, in fact, maybe a little bit on the apron. Makes the move literally as low as he could possibly go and takes away the top spot off of Daniel Suarez down the back straightaway. A very impressive run for Boyer, trying to channel his inner Kyle Petty, running the very, very low side of this racetrack. Lap 164, the 19 of Martin Truex Jr. oversteps his entry to turn 3 and makes pretty significant contact with the outside wall. How about this on lap 165, the 55 of Ross Chastain takes away the top spot off the 14 of Clint Boyer. Lap 168, Suarez takes that spot back, pressures his teammate Ross Chastain, finds some room on the bottom of the racetrack, and takes away the race lead, coming back to the start-finish line. And watch this on lap 171. Justin Allgaier, a man in need of having a good run here tonight to save his points run, makes the move to the inside of the 00 and takes away the top spot. There's nothing better than winning your way into the next round, and that's exactly what this 42 team is trying to do. And by lap 176, Ryan Newman has actually climbed his way back up into the top 15, so it looks like his damage, it really is not affecting that 6 car very much. And on lap 177, Suarez gets side by side with the 42 of Justin Allgaier and makes the move stick on the bottom of the racetrack through turns 1 and 2. As you see right there, Rick Mast caught the outside wall another time, and the 00 is now back out front here at Rockingham Speedway. Lap 182, though, Justin Allgaier was not done yet. Suarez gets held up by the lap car of Kyle Busch, who's trying desperately to stay on that lead lap. That allows Justin Allgaier to make the move down on the inside of the racetrack. Those two battle side by side down the back straightaway, and Allgaier makes the move work through 3 and 4. Justin Allgaier back out front, and Suarez was as well not happy with the 18 of Kyle Busch, but Busch is doing everything he can to try and potentially save his playoff run, but he drops one lap down right there. And just like the Southern 500, we've had a long string of green flag racing. So on lap 186, Cole Custer opens up the pit window by being the first one to hit pit road. On lap 188, both the 37 of Eric Jones and playoff contender of Martin Truex Jr. are on pit road as well. Lap 190, we have even more cars coming down pit road, including Ryan Blaney, Tyler Reddick, and Myatt Snyder, all hitting the pits. Lap 192, the 5th place runner of Joey Logano overdrives turns 3 and 4 and makes contact up into that outside wall, allowing the 48 of Bowman and the 24 of Byron by him. Lap 192, the 40 of Quinn Half, 34 of Michael McDowell, and 89 of Landon Castle all hit the pits as well. And on lap 193, the 7th place runner of Clint Boyer hits pit road, being one of our first front runners to commit to pitting. On lap 194, all the drivers that had already come down pit road, their worst nightmare becomes realized, because the 8, 37, and 2 cars get to racing each other. The 2 is on old tires. The 8 and 37 have just come down pit road, so they're running up on the 2 car very quickly. DiBenedetto's almost hugging the outside wall right there. These two Narrow up coming off of turn number 2. 8 makes contact with the 2, turns down into the 37 of Eric Jones, and Jones heads right up into the outside wall with the number 2 car, bringing out the caution flag here on lap 194 in the middle of a pit cycle. However, this benefited one driver. See right there, the caution flag gets waved. The field is wrecking. There's the race leader, the 42 of Justin Allgaier, but the 14 of Clint Boyer has already beat them to the line. So Clint Boyer is on the lead lap and gets his 4 tires and fuel. So actually a perfect strategy break for the number 14 team. Lap 195, all of the lead lap cars that have yet to pit, with the exception of the 14 of Clint Boyer, all come down pit road. And so the first car off of pit road was the 42 of Justin Allgaier, then the 00 of Daniel Suarez, and the 55 of Ross Chastain. However, they will restart second through fourth as the 14 of Clint Boyer is your new race leader. The caution flag perfectly played into his strategy. Make note of all the lap traffic restarting up in front of the 14 car of Boyer. All the way back to there is where the 14 car is. That is a full 16 lap cars restarting in front of the race leader once we take the green flag. And the green flag comes back out on lap 199. The 14 of Clint Boyer gets hung up in lap traffic, tries to jump up to the outside of the 50 and gets stalled out by the 37 of Eric Jones. The 42 jumps down to the bottom, and Justin Allgaier is your new race leader. Allgaier to the top spot, 00 second, 48 in third, as Boyer now drops down to fourth position. Lap 202. Justin Allgaier sees a great opportunity as Truex and Half get to racing each other. They make door-to-door contact, and the race leader goes 4 wide underneath lap traffic. Justin Allgaier still out front, now gapping the 00. Putting it all out on the line, trying to win his way into the round of 12. Lap 203, the caution flag waves once again. Clint Boyer getting stuck up in a lot of lap cars right here, including Custer, Rick Mast, and the 2 of Matt DiBenedetto. He tries to dive into turn number 1 with cars all surrounding him. 52 car of Mast turns in a little bit quicker than Boyer anticipated. Those 2 hook. 52, 14, and 41 cars all carrying each other up into the outside wall. None of them go completely around, but it is enough to bring out the caution flag. And racing back to the caution flag, the 42 of Allgaier gets held up by the lap car of Justin Haley, allowing the 00 to the bottom. Suarez picks up the throttle early and leads the field back to the caution flag. 42 of Allgaier drops back to third position in that mistake in lap traffic. Lap 204, Ryan Newman's team decides there's only 18 cars on the lead lap. We're running in 15th. Why not come down pit road and try and work on that damage a little bit more? So Newman hits the pits on lap 204, hopefully to get that car in better shape for a run at a top 10 finish. The green flag flies once again on lap 208. And this time the 42 of Justin Allgaier gets a good jump on the 55 of Chastain. He gets held up by the lap car of Justin Haley. And that lap car as well allows Daniel Suarez to gap the field by about half a second already down the back straightaway. Ryan Newman up into the wall coming off of turn number 2. Still Allgaier hounding the 55 of Chastain. Right there, 55 gets around the 77. And now the 20, the lap car of Brandon Jones challenging the 42 of Allgaier. Lap 209, Justin Allgaier makes the move through turns 3 and 4. And the 42 car takes up second. Once again, the top 2 contenders are running for a championship. And how about this by lap 210, the 61 of Christopher Bell for Hattori Racing Enterprises. He runs in 5th position. On lap 215, the 55 of Ross Chastain makes the move to the inside of his teammate Daniel Suarez, running side by side down the back straightaway, and Chastain takes away the top spot through turns 3 and 4. It does not take Suarez very long, though, to get his way back around his teammate Chastain. Lap 218 gets that great momentum on the center of the racetrack once again, goes side by side with the 55 car down the front straightaway and beats him to the start-finish line. Daniel Suarez back out front, approaching just 30 laps to go. On lap 220, while racing alongside the 22 Logano and up in front of the 6 of Ryan Newman, championship contender Chase Elliott's engine expires right in front of the 6 of Newman. Elliott's day is done on lap 220. This is a very long race. They don't call it a 500 for nothing. And we've seen a lot of attrition out of this one, including 2 engine failures for both Harvick and Elliott. And while racing back to the caution flag, Allgaier picked off the 55 car through turns 1 and 2 and does the same to Suarez through 3 and 4. Gets that run, forces the 00 up the hill, side by side with him, and Justin Allgaier is your race leader back to the caution flag. An impressive run back to that caution now with 30 laps to go. Allgaier trying to win his way into the next round. And the green flag flies once again with just 26 laps to go in the North Carolina Education Lottery 500. The 55 of Ross Chastain does not quite get the jump that he wanted on the 00 of Suarez and almost dropped back into the hands of the 11 of Denny Hamlin, but a very good jump on the restart by the 42 of Justin Allgaier. 55 carried good momentum down the back straightaway. 00 moves up the racetrack just a little bit, gets a little bit too high. 55 now side by side with him, and Chastain back into second. Allgaier still out front. And through turns 3 and 4 on lap 226, the 55 of Ross Chastain gets a great run on the 42, coming off of turn number 4, and the 55 of Ross Chastain is now your race leader inside 25 laps to go. But on lap 228, the 42 car takes the lead back. Through 3 and 4, gets a good run on the 55 car and takes away that top spot as the 20 of Brandon Jones tries to get his lap back, now hounding the 42. On lap 229, the 23 of Bubba Wallace makes his move to the inside, the 48 of Alex Bowman, taking up the 5th position. This team going for what could be their best finish as an organization. Lap 232, the third-place runner Denny Hamlin tries to carry a little bit too much momentum off the top side of the racetrack and makes contact with the outside wall, almost coming down, making more contact with his teammate, the lap-down car Brandon Jones. And on lap 233, the 42 of Justin Allgaier leaves some of the bottom open. 55 takes advantage of that and forces the 42 car up the racetrack. Ross Chastain now back out front. Lap 236. The number 20 of Brandon Jones sees an opportunity to get his lap back and starts to pressure the 55 of Ross Chastain through turns 3 and 4. Keep your eyes on the 00 of Daniel Suarez, currently running in second position. The 20 of Brandon Jones leaves a little bit of the bottom open, and Suarez sees an opportunity down there, makes a 3-wide move to the race lead with 14 laps to go, and Daniel Suarez is back out front. 11 of Hamlin takes up second. Lap 239, Alex Bowman makes the move down to the inside of Denny Hamlin. That offer pad Toyota Camry and takes up the second spot. And so now with 10 laps to go here at Rockingham, we have 5 cars with a chance at the victory. In fact, just to make a bit of a stretch, we have potentially 6 cars as the 24 of William Byron is starting to gain time. He's within 2 seconds of the race leader, and the 55 of Chastain now back to second. Lap 242 through turns 3 and 4. Ross Chastain challenges his teammate Suarez and takes away the top spot. Chastain trying to get his first career NASCAR Cup Series victory. He's come oh so close so many times. But tonight be the night that he finally closes one out. 48 of Bowman now to second. Suarez drops down to third, and the lap car Rick Mast is right up in front of the 55. Through turns 3 and 4, the 55 car of Chastain changes his exit just a little bit to accommodate for the 52 of Rick Mast, and that allows the 48 of Bowman to make the move 3 wide down into turn number 1. Alex Bowman in the Allied Chevrolet goes to the top spot down the backstretch. And how about this, with all that Ryan Newman has gone through here tonight, including the run-in with Kyle Larson 2 times, he now runs in 10th position. Newman doing a lot with a little right now. On lap 246, once again, Daniel Suarez holds great momentum on the middle of the racetrack. Gets a great run on the 48 car coming onto the front straightaway. Battling him down into turn number 1, makes the look to the bottom. Bowman uses up a little bit too much of the racetrack, and the 00 slides by to take away the race lead. Now with just 3.5 laps to go, Rick Mast hits the outside wall once again farther back. And there was contact for third place. The 42 of Allgaier muscles the 55 of Chastain out of the way, now going for second. And through turns 1 and 2, the 42 of Justin Allgaier takes over second, and this battle for the second spot has opened up the gap for the 00. It's now more than half a second, separating first from second. And now the white flag is being displayed. The 42 of Justin Allgaier has closed the gap to being within just 0.3 of a second. One small mistake out of Suarez could cost him the victory. The top three contenders running for an advancement into the next round. The 12 of Blaney hits the outside wall, now through 3 and 4 for the final time. What line do you go with? The 42 tries the outside but drops back. And it's too late. Suarez onto the front straightaway will win his way into the round of 12 with a victory here in the North Carolina Education Lottery 500. Suarez takes home his 4th victory on the season, leading the field in victories. 3 of those 4 have come on short ovals this season, and takes home the victory here at Rockingham in the 2nd race held since our return to this famed facility. And there was a crash actually on the final lap of the race. Justin Haley running 4 laps down and Eric Jones running 2 laps down. These two make a little bit of contact coming off of turn number 2. And then watch this down the back straightaway. It looks like the 77 of Haley just crowds him farther and farther down, and Eric Jones was not having it. They carry each other up into the outside wall, spinning once again into the wall. Coming down into turn number 3, Eric Jones gets the car corrected. Justin Haley spun around once again, but this crash happened as they were coming back to the checkered flag. No shortage of action in the 2nd race of the round of 16. And so here are your finishing results. Daniel Suarez clinches a victory and a round of 12 advancement. He does not have to worry about Bristol Motor Speedway, which is absolutely great news for any team because that race is extremely unpredictable. You can get caught up in anyone else's mistakes, just like what we saw in the Truck Series with Christian Eckes' championship hopes coming to an end. Suarez led the most laps of anyone with 49 laps led on the night. Justin Allgaier led 42 laps of tonight's race, bringing home a close 2nd place finish. He just needs a good points night at Bristol, and he likely will advance into the next round. Alex Bowman finished in 3rd position in that number 48 car. Pretty good run there. Ross Chastain brought the 55 car home in 4th position. A great run there for that team. Still looking for that first win. Another team got a great run but still looking for a win was William Byron, finishing in 5th position. Joe Logano brought home yet again another good points night. That's all he's really done this season. That's how he won the regular season championship. Has not won yet this season, but just beats them by consistency. He brought home in 6th position. Tyler Ankrum in 7th. Denny Hamlin in 8th spot. Ryan Newman from a 39th place starting position, involved in 2 separate incidents and actually hit the wall quite a few times after that. Brought that 6 car home in 9th spot. Very good run there for Newman. And Christopher Bell rounding out your top 10 for Hattori Racing Enterprises. And so here are your playoff standings following the North Carolina Education Lottery 500. Daniel Suarez obviously has won his way into the next round. He does not need to concern himself one iota with Bristol. Denny Hamlin now sets 42 points above the cutoff line. That's a fairly safe margin to have at the very least. Joe Logano sets 37 points above. Brandon Jones 32 points above. Alex Bowman now 25 above. Martin Truex Jr. 18 points above, as well as Kaz Brella. A good run there for that 50 team. Chase Elliott now sets 16 points above the cutoff line, even with his DNF here tonight. Kyle Larson, after the run-in with Ryan Newman ended his race, he now sets 14 points above the cutoff line. No points are being fined from him for his run-in with Newman. However, he does have to pay $20,000 to NASCAR. Chase Briscoe now sets 12 points above the cutoff line. Justin Allgaier 11 points above, and Kyle Busch just 2 points above. And how about this? Kevin Harvick, who was the runner-up in the regular season point standings, now sets 2 points on the outside looking in with his DNF here tonight at Rockingham from a blown engine. He needs to pull off a good finish at Bristol to continue his march towards a championship. Matt DiBenedetto now sets 5 points on the outside looking in. And then the 2 drivers that we somewhat expected to be below the cutoff line, Michael McDowell 6 points out, and Josh Bilicki 24 points out. So pretty much at this point, for Bilicki to make the next round, even though he's not in mathematical position for it to be a must-win, he pretty much does have to come into that race with the mentality of having to win to make the round of 12. And just for the fun of it, here is the rest of the point standings from outside of the top 16. We have Clint Boyer still best of the rest in 17th position. Eric Jones sets 18th in points. Brad Keselowski still 19th. And Tyler Reddick rounding out your top 20, now moving in to 20th position in the point standings. And so now we move on to the final race of the round of 16, the Bass Pro Shops Night Race from Bristol Motor Speedway. In the race analysis, the Bass Pro Shops Night Race from Bristol Motor Speedway will take place over the course of 250 laps around this .533-mile concrete coliseum in Bristol, Tennessee. Stage number 1 will end on lap number 62, and Stage 2 comes to its conclusion on lap 125. Remember, the most important aspects of finishing today's race is survival. Miss everyone else's mistakes, and most importantly, try not to get involved into other drivers' rivalries, because now we have to worry about whether or not Eric Jones and Justin Haley are going to get back into each other, Harrison Burton and the 26 car of Tyler Ankrum, the JTG cars, and the 9 of Chase Elliott. None of that stuff's been settled yet. It could all come to a head here tonight. And don't beat yourself, especially if you're one of those playoff drivers, a driver like, say, Larson, who fortunately for him is able to run in this race. NASCAR didn't suspend him for this weekend's event. Just try and get a half-decent points finish and advance into the next round. Don't be a driver like what happened to Martin Truex Jr. back in 2019, who gets eliminated from this round with 6 wins in the regular season. Don't beat yourself, keep your car clean, and try to make it to the finish. And remember about this racetrack too, the bottom groove is really the only groove. We saw this in the Truck Series race. If someone was running around 3rd spot and got kicked up to the high side, they had to wait until they dropped down to around 30th just to find a way back down to the bottom. And I'd imagine the same exact scenarios are going to happen here tonight in the Bass Pro Shops night race. And folks, Joseph Newgarden really is finally getting his first career NASCAR Cup Series start in the Hitachi Ford Mustang, the number 02 for Team Penske. There was initially the promise that if Newgarden could win the Indianapolis 500, that Penske would allow him to do this, but some conversations were had. Newgarden has been allowed to run this race, even knowing he did not score the Indy 500 victory this season. Newgarden is almost certainly going to experience a baptism by fire here tonight, being thrown dead into the middle of a round of 16 battle here at one of NASCAR's toughest tracks. And again, I can't say this enough. It is the playoffs. Win and you're in. Even if you're a driver who sets well below the cutoff line, such as Josh Blicky, this is your last chance. Throw something at it. Try and score the checkered flag here tonight. It could just be the move that could propel you to a championship. And the 6-car next-gen test that was conducted at Bristol Motor Speedway contained probably some of the heaviest hitters, such as the 9 of Chase Elliott, the 4 of Kevin Harvick, the 22 of Joey Logano, 00 of Daniel Suarez, 19 of Martin Truex Jr., and the 11 of Denny Hamlin. All 6 drivers noticed pretty similar feedback to what we've gotten all season long. This car's got a lot more mechanical grip when it feels very secure in the center of the corner, although it is a little bit free getting in. And that is because of the reduction of downforce off of this thing, but it really likes to get up off the corner, and that's due to the addition of more rubber on these tires. Essentially, wider tires being ran on the next-gen car, also independent rear suspension, so it keeps the rear end of the car on the ground a little bit better as well. All 6 drivers were very satisfied with what they felt. You can see the 4 car right there closing the gap up on the 9 of Elliott, gets him loose, and makes the pass. That's exactly what NASCAR wants to see out of this next-gen car, and is working exceptionally. In the starting lineup, Kevin Harvick has scored the pole here tonight at Bristol Motor Speedway, a big-time rebound from his blown engine finish at Rockingham. Brandon Jones qualifies the 20 for Joe Gibbs Racing in 2nd position. Kaz Grylls starts the number 50 for Richard Childress Racing in 3rd spot. Jan Magnussen gets a very good 4th place starting position for being a road course specialist. Ross Chastain qualifies the number 55 car in 5th position. Drew Herring qualifies the 96 in 6th spot. A very big upset there in qualifying. Now the 11 of Denny Hamlin qualifies in 7th spot, the 3 of Austin Dillon in 8th position, the 21 of Austin Cindric in 9th, and the 61 of Christopher Bell rounding out your top 10. Other notable starters include the 53 of Chase Briscoe starting from 11th position, the 47 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. rolls off in 12th, the 24 of William Byron from 13th spot, the 34 of Michael McDowell from 15th position. Then we have the 42 of Justin Allgaier starting in 16th spot, the 19 of Martin Truex Jr. from 17th, the 00 of Daniel Suarez will start from 20th, the 26 of Tyler Ankrum from 21st position, the 10 of Eric Almirola, who's already signed up to drive the 13 Toyota Tundra for ThorSport Racing next season in the Truck Series. He qualifies the 10 car for Stewart Haas Racing in 23rd spot. The 89 of Landon Castle will start from 24th position. The 71 of Josh Blicky starts down in 26th spot. The 9 of Chase Elliott will roll off in 27th. The 88 of Brad Keselowski starts down in 28th position. The 22 of Joey Logano will start from 29th. The 2 of Matt DiBenedetto from 30th. The 37 of Eric Jones from 31st position. Then we have the number 57 of Kyle Larson qualifies all the way down in 33rd spot. spot, the 48 of Alex Bowman in 34th, 17 of Chris Buescher from 35th position, 02 of Joseph Newgarden making his NASCAR Cup Series debut will start from 36th position, the 6 of Ryan Newman down in 37th, the 77 of Justin Haley from 38th position, the 18 of Kyle Busch from 39th, and the 14 of Clint Boyer from 40th position. And the drivers who did not make the field for the Bass Pro Shops night race include the 23 of Bubba Wallace, a very unfortunate story there after they had a lot of momentum building into tonight's event. The 38 of Anthony Alfredo once again missed the field. The 41 of Cole Custer did not make the show. The 51 of Cody Ware and the 52 of J.J. Yaley missed it. The 66 of Timmy Hill DNQ'd, as well as the 78 of B.J. McLeod, and finally the 99 of Ryan Preece. Very unexpected to see Ryan Preece fail to make a short track race. And so that is the full list of drivers who did not make tonight's field. And when the green flag came out at Bristol Motor Speedway, the number 4 of Kevin Harvick got a huge jump on the start, already gapping the field by about 0.4 of a second through turns 1 and 2 as the 00 and 02 cars of Suarez and Newgarden cut the outside wall. On lap number 2, the number 53 of Chase Briscoe finally gets a gap on the inside of the racetrack and instantly cuts down to the bottom of the track and passes the 24 of William Byron with that move, moving up into 10th position. Remember, Chase Briscoe is undefeated at this racetrack, whether it be on the concrete or on the dirt. So much so that he's been nicknamed Chase Bristol. On lap number 6, Martin Truex Jr. enters turn 3 a little bit too high up the racetrack and makes contact with the outside wall, rides it all the way across to the exit of turn number 4 and onto the front straightaway. A lot of right side damage on that auto owner's Toyota Camry. On lap number 7, coming off of turn number 2, Boyer and Kyle Busch meet each other once again. Recall they ran into each other at Rockingham. Right here, Boyer makes contact with the left rear quarter panel, the 18, then tries to force him up the hill through turns 3 and 4. Boyer makes a 3-wide pass right there and moves up into 18th position. Remember that he started all the way down in 40th position. So from last to 18th in just 8 laps. A very impressive drive through the field so far. He's not making very many friends. At the end of lap number 10, the 50 of Kaz Grala leaves just a little bit of the bottom of the racetrack open. The 55 of Ross Chastain capitalizes on this and takes away the second position. On lap number 11, we have a very scary crash surrounding the winner of the regular season championship, the 22 of Joey Logano, running in the back of the field, just trying to keep his equipment together, gets clipped by the 96 of Drew Herring. Now, he's on a beeline straight down to the inside wall, makes contact with the wall, and the weight shift of him impacting the wall actually turns the 22 car upside down. Now, the 22 in a roll, entering turn number 3, very similar almost to his flip back in 09 at Dover. Now flips up into the 71 of Blicky. Blicky goes underneath the 22 of Logano. Logano up into the catch fencing. Does a lot of damage to the rear end of that 22 machine. The 57 of Larson slowed down in time to miss this. Logano now flipping off the high banks, rolls over onto his wheels, but then back onto his roof and comes to a rest on the entry to turn number 3. Joey Logano out of the race in very dramatic fashion, but fortunately uninjured after this early race crash. Here's the accident in real time. It just bottlenecks off of turn number 2. 96 makes contact with the 22 car hard into the inside wall and turns him over. On top of the 71 of Blicky, barreling out of control and coming to its rest on the roof. Here's right in front of our stationary camera. 22 goes over, lands on top of the 71, and flips directly over our camera. And for one last replay from the onboard of the 57 of Kyle Larson, you see right there's the contact to the wall, turns the 22 over. Larson does a good job at braking. In time, it actually stays off of both 71 and 22. No damage on the 57. Now, Kyle Larson did not get damage from the barrel rolling number 22 of Joey Logano, but during the slowdown, he actually did get rammed by the 40 of Quinn Half, who could not slow up in time. So now some rear-end damage on the 57 and front-end damage on the 40. So following that massive crash entering turn number 3, both the 22 of Logano and 71 of Blicky are out of the race. The 71 of Blicky, that ends his championship hopes. He came into this race minus 24 to the cut line, and this DNF so early completely eliminates him from any chance of making the round of 12. Joey Logano has a lot of playoff points to bank on, and if some more playoff drivers can take home low finishes, he has a very good chance of still making the round of 12, even with his DNF here tonight, because he's scored so many consistent finishes that he might have enough points just to do it. The green flag comes back out on lap 17, and once again, look at this restart. The 4 of Kevin Harvick gets absolutely launches ahead of the field, and the 14 of Boyer clips the outside wall. And on lap 18, the 42 of Justin Allgaier comes down pit road. He has a flat tire. That's a huge bit of bad luck for this number 42 team, because that will drop them at least 2 laps behind the race leader pitting under green. How about this? By lap number 24, both JTG Daugherty Chevrolets have worked their way up into the top 10. The 37 of Eric Jones runs in 8th position, and the 47 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. runs in 9th. Right there, they swap positions. Stenhouse now to 8th, and Jones running in 9th. It looks like Jones will drop down to 10th as Kurt Busch slips by on the bottom. It's still a good night so far for those teammates. Lap 26, even from that damage that he got with the 57 of Kyle Larson, the 40 of Quinn Half takes over the 3rd spot for the 21 of Austin Cindric, and how about the 34 of McDowell? Slips by on the bottom and takes up 4th. Absolutely getting the run that he needs to advance to the round of 12. On lap 31, Michael McDowell was getting a little bit frustrated with the number 40 holding up his line. Actually makes contact with him coming off of turn number 2, but Quinn Half still will not budge. And on lap 32, Chase Briscoe makes his way to the inside of Michael McDowell and takes up the 4th position. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. now to 5th at one of his favorite racetracks. On lap 37, Ross Chastain was pressuring the 4 of Kevin Harvick. Harvick misses the bottom through turns 1 and 2. Allows the 55 to go side by side down the back straightaway, and Ross Chastain takes away the race lead, pulsing the number 4 car way up the hill. Lap 42, the 48 car of Alex Bowman passes the 6 of Ryan Newman, but look at this move by the 9 of Chase Elliott. Picks up the throttle way too early and door slams the number 6 of Ryan Newman coming off of turn number 2. Might have picked the wrong enemy for a championship run. Being a rival with Ryan Newman's already made Kyle Larson's playoff run a lot more difficult. I would not recommend it for Chase Elliott. On lap 45, there's a very close moment between Chip Ganassi Racing teammates. One of Kurt Busch forces the 40 up the hill. They make very much contact coming off of turn number 2. The 40 then goes way wide as he tries to catch that race car. Does a great job at not wrecking it, but Kurt Busch moves up into 4th position. There've been a lot of rumors lately about Kurt Busch not returning to the number 1 team. Well, the way he's driving, it looks like he already knows that he won't. And during the Chip Ganassi Racing battle, the 4 of Kevin Harvick put a good move on the 55 of Chastain as Ross missed the bottom through turns 3 and 4. And Kevin Harvick takes away the top spot through turns 1 and 2. Lap 48, Kurt Busch leaves the bottom open through turns 1 and 2 and allows playoff contender Michael McDowell to take away the 4th position. Also, the Starcom Speed Station teammates all tried to run the same setup, which was based off of Chase Briscoe's winning setup last season. It's working for Chastain running 2nd, it's working for Briscoe running in 3rd, and Magnussen's running in 13th, and Daniel Suarez is running all the way down in 36th position with the same exact setup. That shows you how important winning at Rockingham has been for this Double Zero team, because otherwise they'd be in genuine panic mode right now about not making the next round. Lap 53, Ross Chastain starts to get frustrated with Kevin Harvick, moves him up the hill and makes contact numerous times in that left rear quarter panel, but still the 4 car will not budge. Stays right planted on the bottom line of the racetrack, now lapping their way past Austin Dillon as Newgarden pushed him up to the high side. And on lap 57, Ross Chastain still pressuring the race leader of Kevin Harvick. Recall that these two have a bit of history stretching back quite a few years to Darlington in 2018. Right now, Chastain still not going anywhere behind the number 4 of Kevin Harvick, and stage number 1 is coming to its conclusion just a few laps from now. And by lap 60, how about this? Clint Boyer has driven his way all the way into 5th position. He started in last, 40th spot, 40th to 5th in just 60 laps, around a half mile. And so the white flag waves in stage number 1. Right down on the inside of the track, Harvick laps his way past the 6 of Ryan Newman. Not quite sure if he can get his way around the 89 of Landon Castle. Now through 3 and 4 for the final time of stage number 1. Kevin Harvick running without much pressure from the 55. Tries to lap the 89, can't quite do it, and Harvick takes home the stage number 1 victory. Harvick takes home the stage number 1 victory after a great battle with the number 55 of Ross Chastain. Chastain brought it home in 2nd, Briscoe in 3rd, Clint Boyer all the way up to 4th, and the 40 of Quinn Half down in 5th. On lap 64, following the end of stage number 1, Kevin Harvick comes down pit road, while drivers such as Chastain, Briscoe, and Clint Boyer opt to stay out. The 88 of Keselowski also hits pit road, as well as the 26 of Ankrum, 57 of Larson, 48 of Bowman, 19 of Truex, 9 of Chase Elliott, and a few others as well. The 2 of Matt Benedetto as well down pit road. And the second time around, we have a couple more lead lap contenders come in, including Quinn Houff, Michael McDowell, and Kaz Grella. And so your new top 3 runners following all that pit strategy are some contenders who opted to stay out, with Ross Chastain now leading, Chase Briscoe second, and Clint Boyer running in third spot. The 4 of Kevin Harvick will restart down in 14th position. And so the green flag came back out on lap number 67. This time we had a bit more of an orderly start, with the exception of a 3-wide battle farther back, with Matt Benedetto clipping the outside wall. 55 of Ross Chastain got the advantage on the restart above the 53 of Briscoe. Farther back, a battle for 7th. Kurt Busch on the inside of Brandon Jones. Lap 68, while on fresh tires, the 4 of Kevin Harvick makes a 3-wide move to the inside of Byron and Eric Jones, and watch this through turns 1 and 2. Eric Jones overdrives his entry, gets up into the outside wall. We have quite a few rivalries running in one area right there. 37 and 77 running side by side. The 95 moves the 77 up the track so he can gap the 26. Many drivers with rivalries towards each other running all in one group. Fortunately, though, for Harrison Burton, Ryan Newman moves the 26 of Ankrum up the racetrack, which separates those two, but Newman has a bit of a rivalry stretching back to Louisville with the driver of the 95. On lap 70, unfortunately, the number 61 of Christopher Bell has to come down pit road for a loose wheel. How about this on lap number 73? The 18 of Kyle Busch has made his way all the way into 10th position from a 39th place starting position. Lap 74, watch this move by Eric Jones down on the inside, dives to the bottom of the racetrack, passes the 02 and 77 of Haley and Newgarden, and right here, Newgarden actually makes contact with the 77, almost turning him around. Coming off of turn number 4, Haley does a good job at saving that number 77 machine. Lap 77, during Kevin Harvick's march towards the front of the field, he started to get frustrated with the lap car of Justin Allgaier. Allgaier leaves a little bit of the bottom of the racetrack open, allows Harvick to sneak a nose in on the inside. They make contact. Allgaier goes for a slide on the front straightaway. And much like what we saw between Corey Heim and Todd Gilliland in the Truck Series race, putting a lap car in that kind of position does not work. They slide right up into the 4 of Harvick, and they both get carried up into the outside wall. Harvick certainly not happy with Justin Allgaier after this one. They got no caution for this, and Harvick now been shoved up to the outside line and will lose an awful lot of track position. And so you remember the run-in between Eric Jones and Justin Haley at the end of the race at Rockingham Speedway. Well, Joseph Newgarden tried to shove himself into the middle of that battle. As you recall earlier, he ran to the 77. Now he makes contact with the 37 of Eric Jones into the inside wall, tries to catch it. Then the 8 makes contact with the 02. Here comes the 37. They're 3 wide going up the racetrack. 8 car has nowhere to go and squeezes the 37 up into the outside wall. The caution flag comes out as Joseph Newgarden getting a baptism by fire in his Cup Series debut. And once Eric Jones got pointed in the right direction, he was certainly not happy with Joseph Newgarden. That number 02 car goes up to the 02 and slams him under the caution flag period. This actually knocks the radiator out of the 37 of Eric Jones. His night was done. On lap 83, every single lead lap car comes down pit road with the exception of one. The 12 of Ryan Blaney opts to stay out on the racetrack. Oh, but guess what? Ryan Blaney did not stay out on purpose. He actually missed his pit entry, much like what we saw out of Bowman back at Darlington. He has to come down on the second lap under the caution flag, and he's going to lose a tremendous amount of track position. So now your new top 3 here at Bristol Motor Speedway is Ross Chastain, Chase Briscoe, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And so the green flag comes back out on lap number 87. 55 of Ross Chastain gets a very good launch and manages to fight off the 53 car of Briscoe on the first lap under the green once again, with the 21 of Cindric trying to challenge the 11 of Hamlin. Had to get back in line as a little bit of contact right there between the 21 and 1 of Kurt Busch and Austin Cindric. And how about this on lap 88, the 17 of Chris Buescher passes the 4 of Kevin Harvick and moves up into 10th position. On lap 91, race leader Ross Chastain being hounded by the 53 of Chase Briscoe. His teammate Chastain slides up the racetrack just a little bit, and Briscoe takes advantage of it. Chase Briscoe picks up where he left off back in the earlier portion of the season on the dirt here at Bristol, taking away the race lead. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. getting a good run as well, now in second. On lap 92, a very fierce battle for second position begins. As you recall, the 47 of Stenhouse took it up, but coming off of turn number 4, the 11 of Denny Hamlin took the spot, but he slides up the racetrack, allowing the 21 of Cindric on the inside. Hamlin running very well for damage on the front end. Right there, he gets moved way up the hill by the 21, and now Austin Cindric takes up second. Then on lap 96, we get a second round of the battle for second position. The 20 of Brandon Jones shoots down to the bottom, takes up the spot for a moment, leaves a little bit of the bottom open for the 14 of Boyer. He fills the space. Boyer takes it, he slides up the hill, and now the 18 of Kyle Busch holds the preferred line down on the bottom. A little bit of contact right there between him and Boyer. And Kyle Busch takes up second spot with his brother, Kurt Busch, assuming third. And that amazing battle for second spot has now allowed the 53 to gap the field by about 1.7 seconds. And on lap 101, the 57 of Kyle Larson has broken his way up into the top 10. In fact, now running in 7th position. And the 2 of Matt DiBenedetto also getting a fairly good run, now in 10th. And by lap 111, Kaz Gralla is the worst running lead lap playoff contender, running all the way down in 28th position. Behind him, you see the lap car of Daniel Suarez, who is a playoff contender, but does not have to even think about this race because he just won at Rockingham. And by lap 116, the number 4 of Kevin Harvick has made his way back up into 10th position. By the way, you want to know how important the bottom line at this racetrack is? Watch this. Lap 117, 57 of Larson gets moved up off the bottom line by Tyler Ankrum, and then there is a huge amount of cars waiting in line to take advantage of that. Lap 118, while battling for 11th, the 48 of Alex Bowman slides up the hill, makes contact with the 95, opening up the opportunity for Landon Castle down on the bottom. Castle goes all the way up to 11th position with that move. Lap 120, the 20 of Brandon Jones muscles his way past the 2 of Matt DiBenedetto, door slamming him coming off of turn number 4, taking up 5th. And so remember, Larson getting moved up to the top side. Just a couple laps ago, he was running in 14th position. Now he is down in 29th spot. Very, very close to losing the lead lap. Now just 2 laps to go in stage number 2. Chase Briscoe driving the wheels off the 53 car to try and lap the 57 of Larson and lock him out of contention. Coming through turns 3 and 4, the white flag is out in stage number 2. Here comes Briscoe to the bottom of Larson. Kyle Larson is now 1 lap down in the Bass Pro Shops night race. Here comes Briscoe through turns 3 and 4 for the final time in stage number 2. Chase Briscoe continues his dominance at Bristol Motor Speedway with the stage number 2 victory. Briscoe wins the second stage above Kyle Busch in the number 18 car, then the 55 of Ross Chastain, the 1 of Kurt Busch, and the 20 of Brandon Jones. What an incredible drive right there to put the number 57 of Larson down 1 lap. And on lap 127, every single lead lap car comes down pit road, being led in by the stage winner of Chase Briscoe. And unfortunately, while running in 6th position under caution, Matt DiBenedetto's engine expires. That puts an end to his bid for the championship. This will effectively eliminate number 2 team from the round of 12. A very unfortunate break. This Team Penske Racing number 2 car, they had the pace to do it tonight, but they just did not have the reliability to get the job done. And so now for your top 3 runners following the pit cycle, Chase Briscoe is still out front, Kyle Busch running in 2nd, and Ross Chastain rounding out your top 3. And the green flag waves for the final stage on lap 130. Both the 18 and 53 cars get a very good jump on the field heading down to turn number 1, separating themselves above the 55. Lap 132, the 14 of Boyer moves the 1 of Kurt Busch up the racetrack. Those 2 battling for 4th position, but watch Brandon Jones. Boyer sends it in and door slams the 1. Jones takes advantage of it with a 3-wide move, taking up the spot. On lap 135, the Joe Gibbs Racing teammates of Brandon Jones and Hamlin get together. Contact coming off of turn number 2. Jones goes for a slide but corrects it, overdrives turn number 3, and Bowman takes advantage of that with a 3-wide move. But coming onto the front straightaway, the 48 forces them up the racetrack. Contact once again between the 11 and 20. Hamlin makes pretty severe contact into the outside wall on that FedEx Camry. A lot of right side damage on Denny Hamlin's car, and now he's stuck up on the outside lane as Brandon Jones gets around him. And while that battle was ongoing between the 11 and 20, the 55 of Ross Chastain got his way around the 18 of Kyle Busch to take second. And take a look at this on lap 138. Martin Truex Jr. now runs in 5th position, now going for 4th spot underneath Alex Bowman. And he takes the spot. It looks like all the troubles that the Joe Gibbs Racing cars had for the first 2 races of this round are gone now here at Bristol. They've really hit on something. Right now they run 3rd and 4th with 2 of their cars. Lap 142, we have 3 cars running under a blanket for the race lead. Chastain makes a little bit of contact with his teammate, Chase Briscoe, but then overdrives turn number 3. Lets the 18 of Kyle Busch onto his inside, and Busch takes up second. And Denny Hamlin's car is clearly hurt with that contact between him and the 20 of Brandon Jones. By lap 154, he's already dropped down to 25th position. Lap 155, the 18 of Kyle Busch absolutely hounding the back bumper of the 53 of Briscoe, but Briscoe will not budge. On lap 162, we have a very hard crash coming down into turn number 1. The 24 of William Byron right there tries to cut back onto the bottom line. The 20 of Brandon Jones really picks up the throttle early. These two collide. 24 of William Byron gets turned down hard into the inside wall. A big impact right there, sliding back up in front of the field and gets slammed by the 57 of Larson, almost turning upside down. This effectively ends Larson's bid at a championship, DNFing here tonight at Bristol. Also piling into the mess, this is from the rear bumper camera of the 57 of Larson. There's the 77 of Justin Haley, who absolutely could not slow up in time. Huge impact right there. The 33 of Jan Magnussen got involved, including the 42 of Justin Allgaier, and just a stack up on the inside of the racetrack, practically a junkyard. But most importantly, we have the race leader of Chase Briscoe trying to avoid this mess. He sides with the inside line with Joseph Newgarden down there and makes contact with the 02, sending Newgarden in to the 6 of Newman and the 43 of Myatt Snyder. The 18 of Kyle Busch got slowed up in time to not get any damage out of this. Martin Truex Jr. gets some damage in this as well. In the stack-up, Kyle Busch now is your race leader. With Briscoe's mistake in trying to get around all of these damaged race cars, Kyle Busch now leads the field without any damage on that 18 machine. And so here is the onboard from the 24 of William Byron. Flipped right there coming off of turn number 4. Hard impact, then gets slammed driver's side by the 57 of Kyle Larson. Gets back going and is actually at least still running for the moment. And so Chase Briscoe actually fell down to 4th position on the pacing line due to all the damage that he received from all those lap cars slowing up for the crash. Briscoe will not come down pit road. He's going to stay out and gamble on this track position even with a damaged race car. He hopes it will not affect the way the car handles. He's just running for points at this juncture. The 19 of Martin Truex Jr. in a similar position, as well as the 48 and 4 of Bowman and Harvick. The 24 of William Byron, surprisingly, is still in the race. However, the cars that are not still in the race include Larson, whose championship hopes come to an end here tonight. The 77 of Justin Haley also DNF'd, and the 43 of Myatt Snyder. The 20 of Brandon Jones actually stalled in the crash and had to be pushed. He dropped 1 lap down through that. However, he is still in the race. And so the green flag comes back out on lap 167. The lap car of Brandon Jones clips the outside wall, and the 18 of Kyle Busch gets off to a great restart. He had the lap car of Drew Herring separating him from the second place runner-up now, Ross Chastain. Clint Boyer also drives through the lap traffic on the bottom of the track, still running in 3rd. And so the restart produced relatively calm racing, with Kyle Busch just trying to gap the field. However, watch this on lap 176. Magnussen goes for a 3-wide move underneath both Justin Allgaier and Drew Herring. Very impressive move right there. That number 33 car now taking over the 10th position. And Chase Briscoe, even with all his damage, is easily hanging on to the 4th position. No real problems on that 53 car, even knowing the rear spoiler is knocked down. Lap 179, Kyle Busch's worst nightmare for a lap car. Ryan Newman right up in front of him. And he does, in fact, get slowed down quite massively by the 6 of Newman. Ryan trying to maintain lead lap status, moves up the racetrack a little bit, then cuts back down on the 18, almost forcing him to spin him. But this now brings the entire top 4 contenders under a blanket once again. Ross Chastain now hounding the 18 of Kyle Busch extensively. And the 6 of Ryan Newman still not giving up, now moves up the racetrack, allowing the 18 by, and Bowyer puts the bumper to the 55 of Chastain. Clint Bowyer muscling his way to second, doesn't quite work as the 53 makes the move to the inside. And now, Bowyer clears the 53 car of Briscoe into turn number 3. It's Kyle Busch versus Clint Bowyer out front. And by lap 183, Kevin Harvick is absolutely driving the wheels off that Hunt Brothers Pizza Ford Mustang. He has made his way back up to 6th position, trying to save his playoff hopes and make up for that blown engine at Rockingham. Lap 184, the number 40 team of Quinn Half decide to call it a day for overheating issues from the damage that they received earlier. And also, just another lap later, the number 6 of Ryan Newman was finally disqualified for no longer meeting minimum speed. So Newman brings the number 6 car down pit road, and he is done for the day. And watch this as the 6 of Ryan Newman pits the 11 of Denny Hamlin, almost floors it on the bottom of the racetrack, going from 14th position all the way up to 9th on lap 185. An impressive charge to the field by Hamlin. So you recall that Daniel Suarez fell a lap down much earlier in this race. Well, because of the intense amount of attrition in tonight's event, he's actually currently scored 24th position. So really a half-decent points night even for this double-zero team. Not like they really need it because they've advanced to the next round, but still relatively decent for having a mostly wrecked race car and setting 1 lap down. And the lead gap between Kyle Busch and Clint Bowyer was pretty much status quo until right around lap 205, when Kyle Busch starts to race with the lap car of William Byron, and that allows the 14 of Clint Bowyer to gain an awful lot of ground. Now within 1 car length of the 18 of Kyle Busch, but then Bowyer begins to slide up the racetrack just a little bit, trying to figure out a way around the 18, and actually lets the 21 of Cindric, the lap car, to his inside. And that very same lap, the 18 of Kyle Busch made his way around the 24 of William Byron. So at this point, Bowyer needs the 21 of Cindric to get racing with the 18 of Kyle Busch. And Austin Cindric did exactly what Clint Bowyer wanted him to do. Moves the 18 car up the racetrack, gets back on the lead lap, and opens up the door wide open for Clint Bowyer on the bottom of the track. Clint Bowyer takes away the race lead on lap 209, trying to score a victory in his final full-time season. And so while Clint Bowyer was trying to run away with the race lead, the number 21 got to battling the 18 car again, forcing him up the racetrack through turns 3 and 4. Cindric passes the 18 car, dropping Kyle Busch even farther back off the back bumper of the 14 of Clint Bowyer. And you know, how about this on lap 220? Recall earlier in this race, Ryan Blaney missed his pit, but now, with about 30 laps to go, he is running in 8th position, a very good rebound for this 12 team. They need some luck. They have not had very much of it this season. Lap 223, Clint Bowyer gets stuck in lap traffic himself and gets moved up the track by the 21 of Austin Cindric. Cindric gets his lap back finally, and that opens up the door for the number 9 car down on the inside. Bowyer goes 3 wide through the middle, puts the bumper to the 96, and the 18 of Kyle Busch takes away the race lead down on the bottom of the racetrack. Kyle gets hit into in the left rear quarter panel by the 55 of Ross Chastain, as Chastain takes away 2nd position. 3 cars running under a blanket with about 25 laps to go here in the Bass Pro Shops night race. On lap 233, Ross Chastain misses the bottom of the racetrack, entering turn number 1, and allows Clint Bowyer to shoot by down on the inside. Bowyer has his sights set on the number 18 of Kyle Busch. And also make note of the 53 of Chase Briscoe now taking up 3rd spot with a tremendous amount of damage on that RCA Chevrolet. And the caution flag comes out once again on lap 238 with a very strange problem on the number 12 of Ryan Blaney as he takes over the 7th position off the 19 of Martin Truex Jr., gets down turn number 1 and suffers a right front suspension component failure. It brings him down pit road and ends his night. Debris on the racetrack and the caution flag will wave. So we're going to restart with just 6 laps to go here at Bristol Motor Speedway. Number 17 of Chris Buescher is Kyle Busch's buffer, as he has that lap car separating him from the 2nd place runner of Clint Bowyer. And so the green flag waves on lap 245. 18 of Kyle Busch gets a very good jump down to turn number 1, as well as the 17 of Buescher, who is hounding the 18 to get back onto the lead lap. in the hopes that we'll have a green-white checkered. And right now, the 17 getting such a good launch is definitely hurting the 14 of Clint Boyer as the 17 car now dropping back, and the 18 of Kyle Busch. Now half a second the separation with less than 5 laps to go. Lap 247, Clint Boyer getting increasingly frustrated with the 17, tries to make the move to the bottom, but Buescher holds off on the outside line, holds the momentum on the 14 of Boyer, got the 14 car loose, and still holds what would be second position if he was on the lead lap. And I'm sure Kyle Busch is grinning from ear to ear right now with just 2 laps to go and what looks to be an easy advancement to the round of 12. And so now the white flag waves for Kyle Busch in the 18 cars. There's contact between the 17 and 14 of Buescher and Boyer. Now out of turn number 2. And into the final 2 corners, Kyle Busch runs unopposed as Boyer has yet to pass Chris Buescher, and he will not be able to do so. Kyle Busch advances into the round of 12 here at Bristol Motor Speedway. Kyle Busch takes home the victory in the Interstate Batteries Toyota Camry. That marks Kyle Busch's 3rd win on the season. A very impressive run here at the Bristol Motor Speedway. Kyle Busch secures himself a spot in the round of 12 in the final race of the round of 16. Clint Boyer unfortunately denied a victory once again. And here are your finishing results following the Bass Pro Shops night race here from Bristol Motor Speedway. Kyle Busch finishes in first position, claims a spot in the round of 12, and captures his 3rd win of the season from a 39th place starting position. 72 laps led on the night. That's tied for the most with Chase Briscoe. Clint Boyer qualified in 40th and brought that 14 car home in 2nd. So I take it from that starting position means almost nothing compared to what it used to mean here at the Bristol Motor Speedway. As I previously mentioned, Chase Briscoe brought the 53 car home in 3rd spot, which is a very good finish for how heavily damaged that number 53 machine was. His average finish at Bristol Motor Speedway is a 1.6. That is incredibly impressive for a driver only in his 2nd full-time season. Ross Chastain brought the number 55 car home in 4th position, picked up 1 spot from where he qualified. Kevin Harvick almost cheesed out a 5th place finish. That pretty much saves his playoff run. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. got a very deserving 6th place spot. That team's had a lot of struggles this season. They needed a good performance, at least at some point this season. Denny Hamlin started 7th, finished 7th, went through an awful lot to get there, but still a relatively decent points finish. Kurt Busch finished in 8th position in the number 1 car for Chip Ganassi Racing. How about this? Landon Castle brought that number 89 car home for Shepherd Racing Ventures in 9th position. And Michael McDowell rounds out the top 10, the playoff contender in the 34 for Front Row Motorsports. Quite possibly could have saved his playoff run here tonight with a top 10. And so here are your playoff standings following the final race of the round of 16. Daniel Suarez and Kyle Busch have won their way into the round of 12. Denny Hamlin holds the biggest point margin above the cutoff line, 54 points above. Alex Bowman clinched a spot with 32 points above. Brandon Jones, 30 points above. Chase Briscoe, 28 points above. A good finish tonight is what really sealed the deal for him. Martin Truex Jr., 24 points above the cutoff line. Chase Elliott, 21 points above. Even with Logano's tumble through turns 3 and 4, he still makes the next round by 20 points. Kevin Harvick, with his 5th place finish, climbed up to being 14 points above the cutoff line. Kaz Gralla, 11 points above, clinches a spot for Richard Childress Racing. And finally, Michael McDowell has clinched a spot in the round of 12 with a half-decent points finish here tonight at Bristol Motor Speedway. Very impressive for Front Row Motorsports to not be a part of the first round eliminations. But look at the 4 drivers who had their championship chances eliminated here tonight. Justin Allgaier recorded a 2nd place finish in the most recent race at Rockingham. Now here at Bristol, struggles all night long and misses the round of 12 by 5 points. Kyle Larson, with 2 consecutive DNFs following a 2nd place finish at Darlington, that was not enough to get him into the next round. Larson's troubles, primarily at Rockingham, is what eliminated him from a chance at a championship. He finished runner-up the last 2 seasons in Cup Series points. He will not go 3 in a row with being a bridesmaid in points. He gets eliminated in the first round by 8 points. Matt DiBenedetto, after struggling through the entirety of the round of 16, gets eliminated by 25 points. All that obviously culminated here tonight at Bristol with a blown engine. And finally, Josh Blicky, after getting knocked out early in this race in Logano's tumble, misses the next round by a full 44 points. And just for the fun of it, here is an update on the competitors who are not racing for a championship. Clint Boyer still holds best of the rest in 17th in points. Eric Jones resides 18th. Ross Chastain moves his way from 21st now to 19th in points. And Brad Keselowski fell down one spot, now to 20th. And so here are your reseeded point standings following the round of 16 in the NASCAR Cup Series. Daniel Suarez moves back up to the top of the point standings. That is with his 4 wins this season, as well as a 4th place finish in regular season points. That's why he has a full 27 playoff points to work with. Kyle Busch scored his 3rd win of the season here tonight at Bristol. That is why he moves up to 2nd in playoff points. Tied with Kyle Busch in 2nd position and 12 points out of the point lead is Kevin Harvick and Joey Logano as well. Chase Elliott sets 5th, 13 points out of the point lead. Denny Hamlin sets 6th in playoff points, 14 points out of the point lead. Chase Briscoe runs in 7th, 17 points out as well. 17 points out, we have Brandon Jones and Alex Bowman. Setting 20 points out of the point lead, we have Martin Truex Jr. 22 points out, includes both Michael McDowell and Kaz Grala, who are both somewhat upsets for making it this deep into the playoffs. And so, folks, after all this remarkable action in the first 3 races of the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs, the round of 16 has concluded. And so now let's move on to my personal favorite segment of the show, Q&A. Welcome back to Post Tech, and before I get on to the Q&A segment, I got to first of all give you the disclaimer. If I mispronounce any names or handles, I do apologize, but it is bound to happen. Question number 1 from Switchblade. By the way, we don't have too many questions, so this will be a bit of a quick segment. But question 1 from Switchblade is a double question. Is Rayom Brothers Racing looking at Loris Hesemans for 2022? So they are looking at trying to set up a Cup Series operation, Team Heseberg as it's called, trying to run at least the road course races next season, potentially even a run at the Daytona 500. That team, obviously being a wheel and Euro team, doesn't have that much oval experience, so they might not want to try the daunting task of trying to make the Great American Race. But still, it looks like they are going to try and set up a program with Rayom Brothers Racing, providing their technical expertise to put together some Cup cars next season and run Loris in the road course races, or at least attempt to make the road course races next season. That's the current plan from what I've heard so far. Now, question number 2, from his retirement from Formula One after this season, is there any interest from Kimi Räikkönen returning to NASCAR in some form? There actually has been, because there is a couple opportunities for him to come back to Kyle Busch Motorsports. In fact, he could potentially run the number 51 truck in a few races next season, more likely 1 or 2. But Räikkönen, if you recall back in, I believe it was 2012, somewhere around there, maybe 2011, he actually tested a Cup car for Robbie Gordon Motorsports. He obviously wrecked in that test session, didn't actually get to run the race, but I think he would maybe want to try a Cup race, which obviously wouldn't come from KBM. Maybe he could try and work out a deal with, say, 2311 for their second car, something like that. Likely something connected to Kyle Busch in one way or another, whether it be directly a Kyle Busch situation like him running the 51 truck, or if he gets in contact with TRD and gets to run a Cup race with 2311, something like that. I do believe that Räikkönen is interested in running a Cup race at the very least at some point in his career, because he got a Nationwide Series start then, Nationwide, now Xfinity. He also got a Camping World Truck Series start, both at Charlotte, but he's yet to run that Cup race. He was supposed to with Robbie Gordon, never got the attempt. So I think that Räikkönen would be looking more forward towards attempting a Cup Series race overall, and I do believe that he is interested in some way or another at running NASCAR relatively soon, since he'll have the whole year free. Maybe you should try SRX. That's a thought. Now, next question from Chance 2 Electric Boogaloo 2. Is NASCAR going to use the next-gen car for the Bristol Dirt Race? So far, the plan is yes. NASCAR so far does not have any plans on running the current car, the Generation 6 car, at the Bristol Dirt Race next season. There's going to be some off-season testing of the next-gen car on a dirt track in Volusia, which fits perfectly into preseason thunder at Daytona International Speedway. Very, very close proximity between Volusia, the dirt track there, and the big speedway at Daytona. So that's going to be fit right in to preseason thunder testing as a dirt track test. And if that goes well, which it likely will, because they tested the next-gen car at the Bristol dirt track with Larson earlier this season, if the test goes well at Volusia, I think that it'll be all systems go for the Bristol dirt race next season. So far, all the tests that they did, like the Bristol dirt test earlier this year, have gone well. they'll be testing that very extensively. NASCAR obviously has a lot of simulation work that they go through too. I believe that the next-gen car running at a dirt track will be perfectly fine next season. They put a lot of effort into that, a lot more emphasis on dirt racing as of recent, which is a good thing. It's the history of our sport, and NASCAR wants to make sure that this new car can give back to that history. You know, a new car, but back to the way it used to be when it comes to the type of racetrack. So NASCAR's put a lot of effort into this. I think we'll be fine at the Bristol Motor Speedway dirt track next season. And so, folks, that does it for episode number 24 of Post Tech. We hope that you've enjoyed it. I apologize from all of us at the Speed Station for the gap between the last edition. But fortunately, we're back. We're full speed ahead towards the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series round of 12. It might just be the funnest round of any of the rounds of the playoffs in any of the divisions. Because guess what? We got a short track with a throwback race. Road course up in Mossport, that place always delivers fantastic finishes, and a dirt track. So probably the most unique and challenging round of any of the playoffs that we see in NASCAR's national divisions. We're back on track here at the Speed Station, ready to cover all three in the next edition of Post Tech. We hope that you've enjoyed it. Be there, episode number 25 for the round of 12 in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series.